The tribunal chamber smelled of ozone and recycled fear. It was a circular coliseum of glass and white steel, suspended in the upper atmosphere of the Coalition Capital Orbital Station. Below the transparent floor, the planet turned in a slow, suffocating swirl of blue and gray clouds, oblivious to the life of the man standing judgment above it. Kalen Vance stood alone in the center of the intake ring. The gravitational cuffs on his wrists hummed with a low, headache-inducing frequency, keeping his arms pinned to his sides. He was 32 years old, though the scar running through his left eyebrow and the prematurely graying hair at his temples argued for a man of 50. He wore the standard-issue gray fatigues of a disgraced operative, stripped of rank, stripped of medals, and soon to be stripped of his freedom. The high adjudicator sat 20 feet above him on a floating dais. She was a woman of severe angles, her skin pale enough to be translucent, a hallmark of the low UV orbital elite. She looked at Vance not with anger, but with the bored efficiency of a sanitation worker deciding where to file a piece of stubborn debris. "Operative Vance," the adjudicator said, her voice amplified by the chamber acoustics so that it seemed to come from inside his own skull. "You stand accused of gross insubordination, unauthorized disengagement from a tactically critical offensive, and endangering the galactic peace accords. By refusing to fire on the transport convoy in Sector 4, you allowed known dissidents to escape." Vance looked up. His eyes were dark, tired, but burning with a quiet, smoldering defiance. "They were refugees," Vance said. His voice was raspy from 3 days in solitary confinement. "There were no weapons on those ships, just heat signatures. Families. I do not fire on families." The adjudicator waved a hand, dismissing his morality as a clerical error. "Your perception of the target is irrelevant. Your refusal to follow direct orders is the only metric that matters today. The Coalition requires instruments that function. Operative, you have proven yourself defective." A murmur ran through the gallery. Hundreds of spectators, diplomats, military liaisons, and high society voyeurs watched from the tiered seating behind the energy barriers. This was the entertainment of the week, the breaking of a hero. Vance had been one of the best pilots in the fleet until his conscience woke up at the wrong moment. The adjudicator leaned forward. "Prison is a waste of resources for a genetic template of your caliber. Execution is messy and creates martyrs. The Coalition has found a more productive use for you. Under Section 8 of the Interspecies Integration Treaty, we are authorized to assign human offenders to diplomatic auxiliary roles to foster cross-cultural unity." Vance narrowed his eyes. He knew Section 8. It was the polite legal term for selling human beings as political currency. "You are hereby sentenced to a permanent mate assignment," the adjudicator announced. The gallery erupted in whispers. Vance felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. A mate assignment was a life sentence. It was a bond, legally unbreakable, usually reserved for sealing trade deals or calming aggressive border disputes. To assign a soldier as a mate was to turn him into a pet. It was humiliation designed to be absolute. The adjudicator tapped a command into her console. "Your partner has been selected by the diplomatic corps based on genetic compatibility and political necessity. You will serve as a living symbol of our alliance with the Vraxian Reach. You will obey. You will adapt. And you will serve as a warning to any other soldier who thinks his moral compass outweighs his orders. Bring her in." The massive blast doors at the far end of the chamber hissed open. Vance braced himself. The Vraxians were known for their brutalist architecture and their heavy infantry. He expected something massive, a warlord with chitinous armor, a spy with shifting skin. He expected a monster that would look at him and see meat. Instead, the room went silent. She walked into the chamber with a stride that made the air seem to part around her. She was tall, perhaps 6.5 feet, statuesque and terrifyingly elegant. Her skin was the color of moonlight on polished obsidians, dark, but possessing an inner pearlescent sheen that caught the harsh tribunal lights. She wore a ceremonial gown of woven silver mesh that flowed like liquid metal, leaving her arms and her collarbone bare. But it was her face that made the breath catch in Vance's throat. It was angular, regal, and undeniably alien, but possessed of a beauty that felt dangerous. Her hair was a cascade of white filaments, lighter than air, drifting around her head like a halo in zero gravity. She stopped 10 feet from him. Vance flinched. It was a microscopic movement, a tightening of his jaw, a shift in his weight. But the cameras caught it. The gallery laughed. A ripple of cruel amusement washed over the crowd. Look at the soldier, afraid of the pretty lady. Look at the hero cowering before his new owner. The woman did not laugh. She turned her head slowly, her movement fluid, predator smooth. Her eyes locked onto his. They had no whites, no irises in the human sense. They were deep, expansive voids of indigo, scattered with faint glowing patterns that shifted when she blinked. They looked like living constellations, star maps. She studied him. She did not look at his cuffs, and she did not look at the guards. She looked at his hands, which were clenched into fists. She looked at the scar on his brow. She looked at the pulse thumping visibly in his neck. It was not a romantic gaze. It was a tactical assessment. She was looking at him the way a bomb disposal expert looks at a complex circuit. She was figuring out how he broke, and perhaps how he could be put back together. She took a step closer. Vance forced himself to stand his ground, chin up. The adjudicator spoke again. "High Lady Sarai of the Vraxian Reach. Do you accept this asset as your bonded partner, to hold and to discipline in accordance with the treaty?" Sarai did not look at the adjudicator. She kept her galaxy eyes fixed on Vance. "I accept," she said. Her voice was not what he expected. It was not a growl or a hiss. It was a contralto resonance, smooth and dark, like a cello played in an empty room. The adjudicator nodded, commenced the binding ceremony. 2 medical drones hovered down from the ceiling. They carried a tray between them, upon which rested 2 silver bracelets connected by nothing but air. "Extend your arm," the adjudicator ordered Vance. Vance hesitated. A guard stepped forward, jamming a shock baton into the small of his back. Vance gritted his teeth and lifted his right arm. Sarai lifted her left. The drones clamped the silver bands onto their wrists. The metal was cold, then instantly searing hot. Vance gasped, his knees buckling. It felt like someone had driven a heated spike into his nervous system. He saw Sarai's eyes widen, her pupils, if that was what the glowing clusters were, flaring bright white. From the bracelets, filaments of light began to emerge. Luminous nanothreads, blue and gold, spooled out like spider silk, weaving themselves into the air between them. They lashed around Vance's wrist, burying themselves into his skin. He watched in horror as the glowing lines traveled up his forearm, under his skin, seeking his pulse points. It was invasive. It was a violation deeper than any wound he had ever taken in combat. He felt a sudden, sickening drop in his equilibrium, like gravity had shifted 90 degrees to the left. His heart hammered against his ribs, but then, abruptly, it stuttered. Thump, 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 thump. He felt a second rhythm superimposed over his own, a slower, more powerful beat. It was not his. The nanothreads dissolved, sinking fully into their flesh. The visible connection vanished. But the sensation remained, a phantom tether, a hook in his chest pulling him toward the tall, dark woman standing before him. The crowd applauded, polite, golf clap applause for the destruction of a man's life. Sarai stepped into his personal space. She was taller than him by 3 inches. She smelled of rain on hot stone and something metallic, like charged copper. She leaned down, her lips brushing the shell of his ear. The gallery likely thought she was whispering a threat, or perhaps a command. "Try not to fall in love," she whispered. Her voice was barely a breath, soft enough that the audio pickups could not catch it. "It complicates escapes." Vance pulled back, staring at her. Her face was perfectly blank, an unreadable mask of alien aristocracy. Had she just made a joke, or was it a warning? Before he could speak, the guards grabbed his shoulders. "Take them to the domestic compliance wing," the adjudicator commanded. "Let the honeymoon begin." The compliance wing was a prison disguised as a penthouse. It was located on the outer rim of the station, offering a panoramic view of the stars that Vance would never fly through again. The furniture was sleek, white, and uncomfortable. There were no sharp edges, there were no heavy objects. Vance stood in the middle of the living area, rubbing his wrist. The silver band was gone, absorbed into his biology. But the skin there felt tender, so, he said, turning to face Sarai, earning. She was standing by the massive viewport, watching a cruiser dock at the far pier. "This is the part where you tell me the rules. When do I eat? When do I sleep? When do I perform tricks for your amusement?" Sarai turned. She moved with a languid grace that irritated him. She walked over to the food replicator unit built into the wall. "I am told humans require caloric intake 3 times a daily cycle," she said. She tapped the interface with long, dark fingers. "And that you have a preference for carbon-based proteins." She looked at him. "I ordered roast chicken and something called mashed potatoes. The data file says this is comfort food. Is that accurate?"
I'm getting shot at.
Vance blinked. He had expected shackles. He had expected a lecture on Vraxian supremacy. "It is accurate," he said slowly. "But I am not hungry." Sarai pressed the button anyway. The machine hummed and produced a steaming plate. She carried it to the low glass table and set it down. "Eat," she said. "You are pale. Your cortisol levels are spiking. If you pass out, the handler assigned to us will panic, and I do not have the patience for bureaucrats today." Vance stared at the food. It smelled real. "You are acting like this is a date," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Sarai sat down on the white sofa, crossing her legs. The silver mesh of her gown shimmered. "I am acting like someone who is bored by theater," she replied. "The tribunal was theater. This room is theater. The food, however, is chemistry. Chemistry is honest. Eat." Vance sat opposite her, not touching the food. "Why did you pick me?" he asked. Sarai tilted her head. "I did not pick you. The coalition algorithm matched our genetic markers. You were the punishment available in the catalog." She said it with a straight face, but there was a flicker in those star map eyes, a tiny, chaotic swirl of light that didn't match her monotone voice. The door chime rang. It was a cheerful, synthetic sound that made Vance want to punch the wall. "That will be the handler," Sarai said. She stood up, smoothing her gown. "Try to look less like you are plotting a murder. It makes them nervous." The door slid open and a man bustled in. He was short, round, and sweating. He wore the blue sash of the diplomatic corps and carried a data pad like a shield. "Greetings. Greetings to the happy couple," he chirped. "I am Proctor Vane. I will be your liaison for the duration of your adjustment period." Oh, look at this. Settling in already. Dining together. Wonderful. Vane looked from Vance to Sarai, his smile stretching too wide. My job is to ensure that this union is visible and productive, Vane said. The coalition needs to see that the treaty works. We have scheduled a series of public appearances, photo opportunities, a gala tonight to welcome you to the diplomatic fold. A gala, Vance repeated deadpan. I was in a cell 4 hours ago, and now you are in high society. Vane clapped his hands. Redemption is a beautiful narrative, is it not? Now, High Lady Sarai, if you could just stand closer to him. We need to calibrate the proximity sensors in the bond. Sarai stepped next to Vance. She was warm. He could feel the heat radiating off her arm.
That's crazy.
Closer, please, Vane urged, touching. Sarai reached out and took Vance's hand. The moment her skin touched his, a jolt went through him.
Let's go.
It wasn't static electricity. It was a resonant thrum, a vibration that started in his fingertips and echoed in his teeth. His breath caught in his throat, a sharp intake of air that he couldn't control. He looked at her. Her pupils had dilated, the constellations swirling rapidly, expanding until her eyes were almost entirely glowing indigo. She felt it too. Vance tried to pull his hand away, but his muscles were slow to respond, as if his body wanted to stay connected. Excellent, Vane beamed, looking at his datapad. Readings are off the charts. Synchronization is at 98%. You two were made for each other. Literally? Vance finally yanked his hand back. He felt flushed, dizzy. He looked at Sarai, expecting her to be smug. Instead, she looked surprised. She quickly composed her face, the mask sliding back into place. We are tired, Proctor, Sarai said coolly. Leave the schedule on the console. We will attend your gala. But I have so many. Leave it, Sarai said. Her voice didn't rise, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Vane swallowed, nodded nervously, and backed out of the room.
Who's near you,
As soon as the door closed, Sarai let out a breath she had been holding. She walked to the window and pressed her hand against the glass, as if checking its thickness. She rolled her eyes. A very human gesture. He is terrified of me, she murmured. Good. She turned back to Vance. You felt that, she said. When we touched. Vance rubbed his hand. It still tingled. Yeah. What was it? Feedback loop, Sarai said, though she didn't sound convinced. The nanites are calibrating. It will pass. She was lying. Vance had been an interrogator for 3 years before he was a pilot. He knew a lie when he heard one, but he also knew when to pick his battles. He picked up the fork and stabbed a piece of roast chicken. Fine, he said. We play along. We go to the gala. We smile for the cameras. And then what? Then, Sarai said, watching him with an intensity that made the hair on his arm stand up. We survive. The welcome reception was held in the observation rotunda, a massive hall with a domed ceiling that looked out into the void. It was filled with the elite of the coalition, admirals in dress whites, alien ambassadors in floating gravity chairs, corporate magnates holding drinks that cost more than Vance's childhood home. Vance felt ridiculous. They had forced him into a formal suit that was too tight in the shoulders. He felt like a prop, a trophy on a shelf. Sarai, by contrast, was in her element. She moved through the crowd like a shark through a reef. She navigated the currents of conversation with terrifying ease, correcting a general on Vraxian trade law, ignoring a diplomat's backhanded compliment, and steering Vance away from a reporter before he could say something court-martial worthy. Smile, she murmured to him as they passed a group of senators.
My aim was so bad.
You look like you are chewing glass. I hate these people, Vance muttered, keeping a rictus grin plastered on his face. I know, Sarai said. They are vultures.
No, it's like.
But vultures are easily
So-
distracted by
It's
shiny
like she's
things.
underground or something.
Be shiny. Vance. She took his arm. The contact burned again. A low, simmering heat that sat in his chest.
In here.
It was distracting. Every time she shifted her grip, he felt a spike of awareness. He hated it. He hated that he was hyper-aware of her scent, of the way the light caught the silver mesh of her dress. They were parading them toward the center of the room for a toast. Proctor Vane was waving them over, standing on a small stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Vane announced, his voice booming, a toast to the union of Earth and Vrax. A drone floated down, carrying a tray of crystal flutes. And then the world went white. It wasn't an explosion. It was a hiss, followed by a cloud of thick purple mist that erupted from the ventilation ducts. Gas! Someone screamed. Panic rippled through the room. Dignitaries scrambled, dropping glasses. The drone carrying the drinks suddenly banked sharply, its safety protocols overridden, and dive-bombed toward Vance, a red laser targeting grid locked onto his chest. Vance moved on instinct, diving to the left, but he wasn't fast enough. Sarai was...
There's a.
She didn't dive. She spun. Her movement was a blur of silver. She caught the drone in midair, her hand clamping around its chassis. With a shriek of tearing metal, she ripped the stabilization rotor clean off and slammed the machine into the marble floor. It exploded in a shower of sparks. Move! Sarai commanded. She grabbed Vance's collar and hauled him upright. The purple gas was spreading fast. A second drone dropped from the ceiling, its weapon ports opening. Blaster fire erupted from the balcony above. Assassins, 2 of them, dressed in stealth suits, rappelling down the columns. Vance reached for a weapon he didn't have.
I'm coming right now. She's almost done.
Sarai shoved him behind a massive plasteel pillar just as a plasma bolt scorched the air where his head had been. The pillar hissed and melted under the heat. Stay down, Sarai ordered. She stepped out from cover. Vance peeked around the edge. He expected her to run. Instead, Sarai reached into the folds of her silver gown and pulled out something. It looked like a hairpin, long and sharp. One of the assassins landed in front of her, raising a vibroblade. Sarai ducked under his swing with a fluidity that defied physics. She swept his leg, using his own momentum to flip him onto his back. Before he could recover, she drove the hairpin into the joint of his neck armor. He spasmed and went still. The second assassin fired. Sarai grabbed the dead man's body and used it as a shield, advancing through the hail of plasma fire. She closed the distance in 2 seconds. A kick to the knee, a palm strike to the helmet that cracked the visor, and the second assassin was down. It took 10 seconds. She had neutralized 2 armed combatants in 10 seconds in a ball gown. The gas was getting thicker. Vance coughed, his eyes watering. We need to go, Sarai yelled. She grabbed his hand. The bond flared wild and hot, surging with adrenaline, and dragged him toward the service exit. They sprinted past screaming diplomats and confused security guards. They burst into the emergency corridor. The lighting here was pulsing red. Alarm klaxons wailed, a rhythmic, mechanical scream. Vance leaned against the wall, gasping for air. He wiped sweat from his eyes. He looked at Sarai. She wasn't even winded. She was wiping a speck of blue hydraulic fluid from her cheek. He stared at her. The diplomat, the prize, the punishment. She stood there in the flashing red light, terrifying and magnificent. They gave me an alien mate as punishment. I realized too late she chose me. He said it out loud. The words tumbled out of his mouth before he could stop them, half to himself, half to her. It wasn't a question. It was a sudden, jarring clarity. No randomly assigned civilian moved like that. No diplomatic auxiliary dismantled assassins with a hairpin. This wasn't a sentence.
Where's everyone?
It was an extraction. Sarai froze. She turned to him.
Okay.
The red light washed over her silver skin,
Should
making
we
her eyes look
go
like burning
here?
coals.
Toledo?
She smiled.
Okay.
It wasn't the polite smile from the courtroom. It was a sharp, jagged thing. A smile that acknowledged the absurdity of the universe. It was a smile like a punchline that hurts. She didn't confirm it.
Party bus.
She didn't say, yes, I manipulated the entire legal system of the coalition to get to you.
Just watch him.
But she
Just watch
didn't
him.
deny it either. Security is coming, she said.
Her
Her voice was calm again.
Yep.
A squad of heavy troopers rounded the corner at the far end of the hall.
Okay, we're gonna come up
Get
here.
them to confinement,
We're gonna come
a
up here,
sergeant
yeah.
shouted.
Get out here.
Secure the assets.
Okay,
Vance
get
straightened up. He looked at the troopers, then back at Sarai. They shoved them into a transport pod, roughly handling Vance, treating Sarai with terrified caution.
Oh my god.
They were taken back to
my
the
God.
compliance wing, but this time, the luxury was gone. They were thrown into a hardened panic room, a bunker designed to keep VIPs alive, or to keep dangerous things inside. The heavy door slammed shut. The magnetic locks engaged with a thunderous clang.
Yeah, they're shooting. Can't
Vance
beat that
stood
right
in
now.
the center of the room. He had
Come here,
1,000
come here,
questions.
Come here, come here.
Who was she really? Who sent the assassins? Why him? Sarai walked over to the corner of the room, away from the surveillance cameras. She opened her hand. Resting in her palm was a black key card. It bore the insignia of the High Adjudicator.
There's different teams here too.
She must have lifted it off the assassin, or maybe even Vane, during the chaos. She looked at Vance, her star map eyes glittering in the
Let's
dim
try
light.
to-
She held a finger to her lips. Don't ask questions you aren't ready to answer, she whispered. She slipped the key card into her bodice, close to her heart.
Okay, I got this.
Vance
Oh,
looked at
fuck
her.
you.
The bond thrummed between them, a low, steady
I got
note
that
of
snake
danger
card.
and possibility.
Just
He
run.
realized, with a sinking sensation, that his punishment had just become a partnership, and he had no idea if he was going to survive it. The panic room was a masterpiece of paranoia upholstered in velvet. It was technically a suite, part of the high-security diplomatic wing, but Vance knew a cage when he saw one. The walls were reinforced plasteel, covered in tasteful beige silk that did nothing to dampen the hum of the energy shielding sealing the door. Vance was on his knees by the skirting board, dismantling a decorative wall sconce with a butter knife he had swiped from the dinner tray. He pried the casing open, exposing the fiber optics underneath. You are wasting your time, Sarai said. She was sitting in the center of the room on a high-backed chair, looking infuriatingly composed. She had removed the heavy ceremonial collar of her gown, revealing the long, elegant line of her neck and the faint bioluminescent pulse of her jugular. There is a camera in the sconce, Vance muttered, snapping a wire. There is a microlens in the sconce. Yes, Sarai corrected. But the audio pickup is in the carpet weave. The thermal sensor is behind the painting of the nebula. And the biometric scanner is inside the light fixture you are currently ignoring. Vance stopped. He looked up at the ceiling fixture, then down at the carpet. He sat back on his heels, dropping the knife. So we are in a fishbowl,
How was your
he said.
meeting, May?
We are in a laboratory, Sarai replied. She crossed her legs, the silver mesh of her dress shimmering like liquid mercury. They want to see if the bond holds under stress. Assassination attempts are excellent stress tests. Vance stood up and wiped his hands on his trousers. The bond. He could feel it humming in the back of his teeth. A low-frequency vibration that intensified whenever he looked at her. It was like a second heartbeat, syncing his pulse to a rhythm that wasn't his. He walked over to her, stopping just inside her personal space. The vibration
that's not
spiked,
forever.
turning into a sudden warmth that flooded his chest. He ignored it. "Why did they target us so fast?" he asked, his voice
I don't wanna
low.
say it now.
We hadn't even finished the toast. "If this is a punishment, they are supposed to let us suffer for a few years before they kill us."
Ring back.
Sarai
or
looked up
whatever
at him.
that's supposed-
Her eyes were dark pools, the star map pattern swirling lazily. "Maybe we are irresistibly charming," she said,
I'm
a
like,
dry smile touching the corner of her
I don't know
mouth.
what's wrong with me, but I'm like,
Vance
back
didn't
is
smile
like
back.
hella
Sarai's
tingly.
expression hardened. The humor evaporated, leaving behind the cold,
It's
sharp intellect he had
called,
seen in the courtroom.
Period.
"Someone expected you to die before the bond stabilized," she said quietly.
Yeah.
"The
That's
integration
fine.
process usually takes a week. During that window, the neural feedback from a partner's death is unpleasant, but survivable.
A little tea,
Once the
my
bond is
guy.
fully settled,
Sorry.
if I die, you go into shock. If you die,
My bad.
I likely suffer a cerebral hemorrhage." Vance stared at her. "So they wanted to kill me while I was still disposable," he said. Sarai nodded. "Precisely. Someone on the council does not want a live human symbol. They want a dead martyr. Or perhaps they just want to see if I can be broken by losing another asset."
Who is this, Becca?
"Another?" Vance asked.
There's footsteps.
Sarai looked away, her gaze drifting to the blank wall. "Don't ask questions you aren't ready to answer," she repeated, echoing her words from the corridor. A sudden wave of grief hit Vance.
Where are you at?
It was sharp, metallic,
Okay.
and overwhelming. He staggered back a step, clutching his chest. It wasn't his grief. It was hers. It tasted like ash and cold rain. "Stop it,"
Hiding right
he
here.
gasped. Sarai's eyes snapped back to him. She took a breath, and the sensation vanished as quickly as it had arrived, locked away behind her mental walls. "I apologize," she said stiffly. "The shielding is
Can't survive this, bitch.
porous." Vance rubbed his sternum. The bond was not just a leash, it was a window. He had felt her loss for a second, raw and unadulterated. It terrified him more than the assassin's blaster. Night fell, or at least the station's environmental cycle simulated night. The lights dimmed to a twilight blue and the temperature dropped. There was one bed in the suite. It was massive, circular, and looked about as inviting as an altar. Vance stood looking at it, then grabbed a pillow and threw it onto the floor near the
Let me throw
door.
this. Fuck.
"I am
me throw
taking
this
the
right
floor,"
quick.
he announced. Sarai watched him from the edge of the mattress.
What
"That is
here?
performative and unnecessary,"
Okay.
she said.
This up.
"The bed is 3 meters wide. We do not even have to acknowledge each
You
other's
can have that
existence.
sniper if you don't have one.
I am not sleeping in the same bed as my jailer," Vance said,
Christmas box.
kicking the pillow into a more comfortable shape.
Okay.
"And I am definitely not sleeping next to someone whose nightmares might bleed into my head." He lay down on the carpet. It was plush, but the floor beneath it was unforgivingly hard. He turned his back to the bed, staring at the bottom of the door. Silence stretched out in the room, heavy and thick. Then, he heard the rustle of fabric,
Show me what that was.
soft footsteps. He tensed.
Oh,
A blanket settled over him. It was heavy,
interesting.
weighted thermal silk. He rolled over.
I'm coming.
Sarai was lying on the floor next to him. She had dragged the duvet down from the bed and was arranging it around herself with the same regal dignity she displayed in court. "What are you doing?" Vance hissed. "The bed has pressure sensors,"
Found him.
Sarai whispered, not looking at him. "If we sleep there, they measure our respiration, our heart rate variability, our physical proximity. They want data on our intimacy. I prefer not to give it to them." She curled up, pulling the blanket to her chin. "Besides," she added, her voice dropping to a murmur, "the floor is the only place in the room with a blind spot from the thermal scanner. It thinks we are a draft." Vance looked at her. In the dim blue light, She looked less like an alien princess and more like a fugitive. The star maps in her eyes were dim, conserving energy. He should have moved away. He should have maintained the boundary. But the floor was cold, and she was radiating heat like a furnace. The Bond hummed, a contented purring sound in the base of his skull. He didn't move away. Sarai closed her eyes. "If I dream," she said softly, "wake me up. Do not let me drown in it." Vance watched her for a long time before he finally closed his own eyes. "I will," he said. The morning brought a chiming summons from the wall screen. The image of a man flickered into existence, not Proctor Vane, but someone with colder eyes and a more expensive suit. The Chiron identified him as Council Liaison Krell. Krell did not waste time with pleasantries. "Operative Vance," Krell said, his voice oily and smooth. "We trust your first night was educational." Vance stood in the center of the room, arms crossed. Sarai stood slightly behind him, her face a mask of boredom. "It was uneventful," Vance said. "Unlike your reception." Krell waved a hand, dismissing the assassination attempt as a minor catering error. "Security protocols are being reviewed. I am calling to offer you a pathway, Vance. The Coalition understands that this transition is difficult. We are willing to offer incentives for cooperation." "What kind of incentives?" Vance asked. "Full restoration of your military rank," Krell said. "Expungement of your insubordination record. A generous pension deposit for your family on Earth. All we require is compliance." "Compliance," Vance repeated. "You want me to be a good little pet?" "We want data," Krell said. "Meaningful biological data. The bond you share with High Lady Sarai is a prototype. We need to know its limits, its depth. If you cooperate, if you facilitate the integration actively rather than resisting, we can shorten your sentence. 2 years instead of life." Vance felt Sarai tense behind him. He didn't need to look at her to feel the spike of cold fury that shot through the bond. "And what does active integration entail?" Vance asked. Krell smiled. It was a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Progeny," he said. "Genetic compatibility is the ultimate goal of the treaty. Produce a viable hybrid, and you are a free man." The silence in the room was deafening. Vance felt his stomach turn. They weren't just diplomats. They were breeders. Sarai stepped forward. Her movement was so sudden that Krell flinched on the screen. "The answer is no," she said. Krell's smile faltered. "High Lady, this is a matter for—" "The answer is no," Sarai said again, her voice like grinding stones. "You will not harvest him. You will not harvest me. And if you suggest it again, I will tear the bond out of my own throat and use it to strangle you." She reached out and severed the connection. The screen went black. She stood there, breathing hard, her hands clenched into fists. Vance looked at her. "Is that what this is?" he asked quietly. "A breeding program?" Sarai turned to him. She looked tired. "It is worse than that," she said. "It is weaponized genetics. They do not just want hybrids. They want soldiers who can be controlled by a single command frequency. The bond isn't just connection, Vance. It is a receiver." She tapped her temple. "They want to breed a generation of pilots who cannot disobey orders because the orders are written into their DNA. That is why they wanted you. You are a pilot. I am what I am. They think if they mix us, they get the perfect weapon." Vance felt a chill run down his spine. "So why did you agree to it?" he asked. Sarai looked at him, and for the first time, he saw fear in her eyes. Because the alternative was letting them do it to someone who wouldn't fight back. She said. They had to leave the suite eventually. Proctor Vane arrived, sweating and apologetic, to escort them to the medical bay for a routine post-incident scan. "We have to play the game," Sarai whispered to him as they walked down the gleaming white corridor, flanked by guards. "What game?" Vance muttered. "The happy couple," Sarai said. "If they think we are bonding naturally, they will relax. If they think we are resisting, they will tighten the screws. Smile. Vance, touch me." Vance gritted his teeth.
I don't know what it is.
He reached out and took her hand. The bond flared, sending a jolt of awareness up his arm. He forced himself to stroke her thumb with his. "Like this?" he asked. Sarai leaned into him, her shoulder pressing against his arm.
I'm trying right now, guys.
She looked up at him with a look of adoration that was so convincing it was terrifying. "Perfect," she cooed, loud enough for the guards to hear. "You are learning." They walked like that, hip to hip, whispering fake endearments while their eyes scanned every vent and security camera. "You are not the only one being watched," Sarai murmured, her lips barely moving as she smiled at a passing nurse. "They are watching me too. They are waiting for me to slip, to show weakness." "What happens if you show weakness?" Vance whispered back, tucking a stray lock of hair behind her ear. "Then I disappear," Sarai said, beaming at him. "And a new, more obedient high lady takes my place." They reached the medical bay. It was a sterile, circular room dominated by a massive scanning ring.
Come over here.
The medical droids were efficient and rough. They separated them.
Do an IRL.
Vance was scanned quickly, a simple biological workup. But for Sarai, it was different.
We don't know yet when.
Vance watched from the observation glass as they strapped her onto the table. The scanner hummed to life, spinning around her. He saw her back arch. He saw her hands grip the restraints until her knuckles turned gray. She wasn't screaming, but he could feel it. The bond was screaming for her. It was a sensation of invasive, burning cold. They were probing her neural pathways, testing the bond's depth with electrical pulses. "Stop it!" Vance yelled, hammering on the glass. "You are hurting her." The technician ignored him. Standard calibration. The droid droned. Vance didn't think. He didn't calculate. He drew the butter knife he had kept hidden in his boot and slammed the handle against the door release mechanism. It sparked and shorted. He kicked the door open and stormed into the room. "Get off her!" he roared. He shoved the technician aside and ripped the restraints off Sarai's wrists. The scanning ring groaned and powered down. Sarai sat up, gasping. She was shaking. Her skin was pale, the bioluminescence dim and flickering. "Vance," she whispered, "you shouldn't have." He didn't listen. He pulled her off the table, wrapping his arm around her waist to support her. "We are done," Vance snarled at the droids. "Scan is over." He walked her out. The guards hesitated, looking at his face. Vance looked like a man who was ready to kill everyone in the room with his bare hands. They let him pass. Back in the suite, the adrenaline crash hit them both. Sarai collapsed onto the sofa. Vance grabbed a glass of water from the dispenser and handed it to her. Her hands were shaking so hard she couldn't hold it. "Here," he said softly. He held the glass to her lips. She drank, her eyes closed, tears leaking from the corners. They like to push deep," she whispered, "to see if the mind breaks." Vance set the glass down. He sat beside her. Without thinking, he reached up and cupped her face in his hands. He just wanted to steady her. He just wanted to comfort her. But the moment his skin touched her cheeks, the bond ignited. It wasn't like before. It wasn't a spark. It was a detonation. Sarai's eyes flew open. Her breath hitched, a ragged sound that tore at his chest. Vance felt a surge of desire so potent it knocked the wind out of him. It wasn't just physical. It was emotional gravity. He felt a desperate, clawing need to be closer, to merge, to erase the space between them. He leaned in.
Lock the fuck in.
She didn't pull away. Her pupils dilated until her eyes were endless,
Okay.
swirling voids. Vance, she breathed. His thumbs brushed her cheekbones. He could feel her pulse hammering against his fingertips. It was perfectly synced with his own. He wanted to kiss her. He wanted it more than he had ever wanted anything. He wanted to wrap himself in her heat and forget the cage, the coalition, the war. They froze there, inches apart, foreheads almost touching. Then, Vance pulled back. It took every ounce of willpower he possessed. He pulled his hands away as if she burned him. "Is this real?" he asked, his voice rough. "Or is this the program?" Sarai stared at him, her chest heaving. She looked wrecked, beautiful and wrecked. "I don't know," she whispered. Vance stood up and walked to the other side of the room. He raked his hands through his hair. "I can't do this if it's not real," he said. "I won't be their stud horse, and I won't use you like that."
Oh shit.
Sarai watched him. The shaking had stopped. "I requested you," she said. Vance turned. "What?"
Okay, I'm gonna shoot from up
"I
here.
requested a human," she said,
Oh, he's down.
specifically. "I went through the archives. I looked for the most stubborn, defiant, uncontrollable profile I could find. I didn't want a soldier who followed orders. I wanted a man who threw them back in his commander's face." "Why?" Vance asked. "Because," Sarai said, standing up, "I needed someone impossible to program. The bond tries to synchronize us. If I had chosen a weak mind, the bond would have overwritten him. I would have enslaved him without meaning to. But you fight back, even against the bond, even against me." She took a step toward him. "I chose you because I needed an equal. Vance, not a pet." Vance looked at her. The anger in his chest softened, replaced by something heavier. "You could have just asked," he said. Sarai smiled. "A sad, fleeting thing. Princesses do not ask," she said. "We command, and then we pay the price." The moment was shattered by a screech of metal. The red emergency light strobed. A mechanical voice blared from the ceiling. "Warning, hull breach detected. Sector 4 decompression imminent." The air in the room roared. A vent in the ceiling blew out, and sudden violent wind tore at their clothes. Papers, cups, and cushions were sucked upward into the void. Vance was knocked off his feet. The pressure drop was instant. His ears popped painfully. "Vance!" Sarai screamed. She grabbed his wrist. Her grip was like iron. She yanked him across the room, fighting the suction. "The emergency bulkhead!" She yelled over the roar of escaping air. She dragged him toward a panel in the wall. She slammed her hand against it. A small, spherical survival pod popped out, an emergency cocoon, barely big enough for one person, let alone two. "Get in!" Sarai shouted. "We won't fit. We have to." She shoved him inside and scrambled in after him. It was a tight squeeze. They were forced chest to chest, legs tangled, arms wrapped around each other to conserve space. Sarai hit the seal button. The pod hissed shut, locking them in darkness just as the room outside fully decompressed. Silence returned. The pod was tiny. Vance could feel every inch of her against him. Her breath was warm on his neck. The bond was humming wildly, feeding off their shared terror. "Are you all right?" he whispered. "I am intact," Sarai replied. Her voice was shaky. They lay there in the dark, breathing the limited reserve air. It was intimate in a way the bedroom had never been. There was no performance here, just two heartbeats in a plastic egg, floating in the wreck of a room. Vance felt Sarai tremble. He tightened his arms around her. "It wasn't a system failure," he said. "No," Sarai whispered. "It was a cleanup crew. They got tired of waiting for the assassin. She buried her face in the crook of his neck. He felt her lips moving against his skin. She was whispering something, a rhythmic, melodic chant. The words were alien, rolling and deep, tasting of thunder and old stone.
Like my fucking
What are you
cup that he
saying?
knows about?
Vance
No.
asked softly. It is a prayer, Sarai murmured. From my childhood, if the stars refuse to guide us, we will burn our own path. Vance rested his chin on the top of her head. I like that, he said. We need to move, Sarai said, pulling back slightly. Her voice shifted, the steel returning. They will come to recover the bodies in 10 minutes.
That would have been nice.
We cannot be here when they open the door. How do we get out? We are sealed in a pod. This pod has a maintenance release, Sarai said. It dumps into the waste disposal chutes, which lead to the lower decks. The garbage chute, Vance said dryly. Romantic, effective, Sarai corrected. She fumbled in the dark, finding a lever near his hip. Hold your breath, she said. She pulled the lever. The pod lurched, then dropped. They plummeted through the station's bowels, sliding down a gravity-dampened tube. The ride was rough, slamming them against the padded walls of the sphere. They landed with a heavy thud in a pile of soft refuse. Sarai kicked the hatch open. Come on, she said, scrambling out. They were in a massive hangar bay, filled with automated scows and maintenance shuttles. The air smelled of ozone and rotting food. Vance followed her. She moved with purpose, scanning the rows of ships. That one. She pointed to a beat-up cargo hauler. The Rusty Nail. It has a hyperdrive. They ran toward it. Security drones were already buzzing in the upper rafters, their spotlights sweeping the floor. Sarai reached the airlock. She didn't use a key card. She placed her palm on the panel and whispered something. The lock flashed green and cycled open. How did you do that? Vance asked as they scrambled into the cockpit. Royal override codes, Sarai said, jumping into the pilot's seat. My ancestors built the operating system this station runs on. She flipped switches with dazzling speed. Engines roared to life. Strap in, she ordered. Vance jumped into the co-pilot seat. Can you fly this brick? He asked. Sarai laughed. It was the first time he had heard her laugh, a real throaty sound of delight. I was racing atmospheric skiffs through the canyon runs of Vrax Prime before I could walk, she said. Watch this. She punched the throttle. The shuttle lurched forward, smashing through the hangar bay doors before they had fully opened. They shot out into the vacuum of space, debris spinning in their wake. Alarms lit up the console. 3 patrol fighters peeled off from the station's perimeter to intercept them. Hang on, Sarai yelled. She threw the shuttle into a barrel roll that made the artificial gravity generator whine in protest. They wove through the station's defensive turrets, dodging plasma fire that streaked past the viewport like angry hornets. She flew like a maniac. She flew like an artist. Vance watched her hands dance over the controls. She was magnificent. She punched the hyperdrive coordinates. The stars outside stretched into lines of light. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The universe snapped. The patrol ships vanished. They were in hyperspace, a swirling tunnel of blue and violet. Sarai slumped back in her seat, exhaling a long breath. Vance unbuckled and turned to her. We made it, he said, disbelief coloring his voice. Sarai turned her chair to face him. The adrenaline was fading, leaving her looking vulnerable again. Vance, she said. Yeah? There is something you need to know. I know, Vance said. You requested a human. You wanted someone stubborn. No, Sarai said. She leaned forward, her eyes locking onto his. It wasn't just a request for a profile. Vance, I didn't just filter a database. She took a breath. I saw you. She said, 2 years ago. On the news feeds, during the siege of Kaltor, you landed your dropship under heavy fire to evacuate a civilian hospital that your command had ordered you to abandon. I saw your face in the footage.
I don't even know what it is.
I saw how you looked at the camera. She reached out and touched his hand. The bond hummed, soft and steady. I didn't just accept you as a random punishment, she whispered. And I didn't just pick a file, I hunted you. I spent 2 years maneuvering, bribing, and pulling strings to ensure that when the time came for my assignment, you would be the one in the cell. Vance stared at her. The weight of it settled on him. She hadn't just saved him today. She had been saving him for years.
Do you guys see one of those
Why?
that we can,
He asked hoarsely.
buy?
Because, Sarai said, tightening her grip on his hand.
Recruit with money?
You were the only one in the galaxy who looked as trapped as I felt. Vance looked at their joined hands. The bond felt different now. It didn't feel like a chain. It felt like an anchor. Well, he said, a small, crooked smile touching his lips. You caught me. Now what do we do? Sarai turned back to the viewport, to the swirling lights of hyperspace.
Oh no, you can only.
Now, she said, we burn the path.
No, thank you.
The rusty nail shuddered as it engaged the magnetic docking clamps of Station 9. The station wasn't so much a structure as it was a parasitic infection inside a hollowed-out asteroid.
They still are cars.
Neon signage in a dozen languages bled harsh light into the vacuum, advertising everything from illegal engine mods to memory erasure. Vance killed the engines. The silence that filled the cockpit was heavy, punctuated only by the cooling ticks of the thrusters.
Santa Claus.
We need supplies, fuel, and information, Sarai said, unbuckling her harness. In that order. Vance looked at her. She was already tapping at her wrist gauntlet, activating a holographic shimmer field. The regal silver of her gown faded, replaced by the visual projection of a worn, grease-stained flight suit. Her striking white hair dulled to a nondescript gray. You look like a mechanic, Vance noted. That is the point, Sarai said.
Hello.
And you look like a
She's
human,
still there. She's-
which,
she's
unfortunately,
fine.
is harder to
She's on
disguise.
I'm down
Keep
too.
your head down. Humans are rare
She's
out here,
coming.
and usually expensive. They disembarked into the chaos of
We're
the
all
docking
hiding like
ring.
fucking
The
bitches.
air smelled of burnt ozone, exotic spices, and unwashed bodies. It was a sensory assault. Drones buzzed overhead like angry flies, carrying cargo nets. Vendors shouted from stalls carved into the rock walls, selling skewered meats that sizzled with blue flames. Vance felt exposed.
Wait, is that a gas?
Every time a passerby glanced at him, a four-armed dock worker, a methane breather in an environmental suit, he felt the phantom itch of a target on his back. Sarai moved with confident anonymity, weaving through the crowd. Vance stuck close to her. The bond between them was a low hum, a constant awareness of her location relative to his.
Come here.
As they passed under a flickering halogen strip, Sarai's disguise field stuttered. The holographic flight suit dissolved for a split second, revealing the silver mesh beneath.
Yeah, hit shit.
Vance caught a glimpse of her collarbone. The fabric there had shifted, exposing skin he hadn't seen before. Etched into her dark flesh were markings, intricate, glowing geometrical shapes in gold. They weren't tattoos.
Dead. You're dead.
They looked
now,
like
bitch.
circuitry grown biologically, ancient and precise. He recognized the symbology from his history briefings at the academy.
Bitch.
They were the crests of the House of Ethelgard, the Peacemakers. The royal line that was supposed to have been extinguished 50 years ago during the Unification
I gotta
Wars.
go, Destiny.
The hologram snapped back into place. Sarai pulled her collar up, glancing at him
No,
sharply.
I'm not running completely.
You saw, she said. It wasn't a question. Vance kept walking, matching her
Oh
pace.
shit.
I
There's a
thought they
whole
were a
fucking
myth,
gang
he
of
murmured.
us.
The lost house?
Zigzag.
Dead things are safer than myths, Sarai said tightly. Keep moving. They found their contact in a dimly lit bar called the Gravity Well. The floor was transparent, looking down into the crushing dark of the asteroid's core.
Honestly, I kind of was just being stupid.
The
because I knew
contact
that
was
I didn't
Italian
have
rogue
shields
named
or
Nix.
anything.
He was humanoid, with skin the color of polished copper and a cybernetic eye that whirred softly as it focused. He sat in a booth,
Hello, guys.
spinning a
Also,
credit
guys, I'm
chip
new
between
here.
his
Don't judge me.
fingers.
I just started playing this
Nix
game, like, 2
grinned as
weeks
they
ago.
approached, exposing a row of sharpened teeth.
I don't know,
Well,
it's probably
well,
been, like,
he
a week.
drawled. If
I
it
don't know.
isn't the
It's been, like,
runaway
2 weeks.
bride and her pet monkey.
I think it's been 2 weeks.
Vance stiffened.
And
Sarai placed a hand
now?
on his forearm. The touch
This
sent
is
a
what I'm
calming
drinking?
pulse through the bond, though her voice remained ice cold.
I'm at lobby.
Hello. Nix. I see your manners haven't improved since the Kessel run. Nix
You're
laughed,
in?
gesturing for them to sit. You wound me, Sarai. And here I am, risking my neck to dig up dirt on your ex-boyfriends in the
I've
coalition.
been eating a drink for like
He slid a data pad across
the
the
past
table.
week.
It is worse than you thought,
Even at
Nix said, his tone
Friendsmiths,
dropping the
I didn't even
playfulness.
really drink.
The coalition
I
isn't
drink, to
just
be
pairing
honest.
people up for kicks. There is a treaty amendment currently
Yeah, I
sitting
drink,
in the
but not
closed
really, like-
session of the council. They call it the Biopolitical Stability Act. And what does it do? Vance asked.
What?
Nix looked at him, the cybernetic eye narrowing. It legalizes permanent involuntary biopolitical pairing for all species deemed high risk or resource critical. It turns the mate program from a punishment into a draft. They want to breed a loyalist army, human,
Sure?
and they are using your
I
bond
don't
data to
think you
perfect
told
the
me that.
mind control elements. Vance felt a cold pit
What was
open
my
in his
answer?
stomach. It wasn't just about him and Sarai. It was about industrializing slavery under the guise of marriage.
So I didn't say no.
We need proof, Sarai said. Hard proof, not just
Okay,
rumors.
then I didn't say no.
Nix tapped the table.
You hear this?
There is an
Just
encrypted
hop
data
in for
shard.
10
It was
gifts.
recovered from the wreckage of the
Crazy.
drone that tried to kill you at the
I can do
reception.
it, but will I do it?
My sources say it traces back to
What
a
if
black
you're
site
saying that
lab
you're
in the
not really gonna
Helix
get it?
Nebula. But getting it, that is the tricky part.
Oh, I missed your
Why?
streak.
Vance
5.
asked.
Oh my god, I'm horrible.
Because a
You full
bounty
streak
hunter named
of my
Korg has it,
5 streams
Nick said. And he is currently shopping it to the highest bidder in the bazaar on level 4.
5 now, then 5 later.
Sarai
Ooh,
stood
wait,
up.
She's a businesswoman.
Then we
She knows.
buy it. With what money? Vance hissed. Nix
Honestly,
looked at Sarai, a leering grin spreading across his face.
I'm trying to get some V-Bucks
I could
here, too.
front you the credits, Nick suggested. For a price? A private dinner,
You know what
perhaps?
sucks is like
Just you and me.
this will definitely
Sarai, leave
give
the
me heartburn
human in the
because
ship.
it's-
Vance felt a spike of hot, irrational anger.
That too,
It wasn't
but
just the insult. It was the way Nix looked at her. Possessive.
Holy
hungry.
mother.
The bond flared in Vance's chest,
Yeah,
a sudden
it's gonna give me
urge to reach across the
heartburn.
table and break the rogue's
Can I
nose.
chug?
Sarai
Can I
felt
chug
his
the Red
anger.
Bull instead?
She turned to Vance, her eyes amused
That will
beneath
give
the
me heartburn.
disguise. Relax, she said,
Thank
her
you for
voice
your
dry.
transaction.
I only threaten people I like.
'Cause that will definitely give me heartburn
She turned
because
back
of
to
the
Nix.
tomato juice. Ugh.
We will get the shard ourselves. But if you sell us out,
All right,
Nix,
let me go get the buzz
remember
ball.
that I know where you hide your stash on Vrax Prime. Nix held up his hands in mock surrender.
Oh wait, I need a blue
Go
one.
get him, Tiger.
I want a blue one
Level
instead of
4
green
was a
one.
vertical market, built inside a
Oh, thank
massive
you so much for the
ventilation
gift
shaft
kit.
where the gravity
Alright,
fluctuated
I
randomly.
have a green one for sure.
Walkways
Let me see.
rotated,
Let me
and shops
call my
hung
plug.
suspended by magnetic tethers. They found Korg's stall easily enough. It
Yeah,
was the
let me
one
see.
surrounded by armed guards. Korg was a massive rock-skinned silicate life form, haggling with a hooded figure over a glowing blue shard. That is it, Sarai whispered.
Oh, the reason why I
We
want
can't
blue
fight
too is
10
because, one, I do like
guards,
the blue one,
Vance said.
And
We don't
it's
have
a
to,
Fortnite.
Sarai said.
I have to do
We
it
just
for
need a
Fortnite.
distraction.
Okay, so I'm gonna check.
She pulled a small
roulette.
device from her belt, a sonic emitter. She tossed it into a nearby stall selling volatile fuels. 3 seconds later,
I might buy
a
at
deafening
least a bundle
screech
for
shattered the
myself.
air,
That's
followed by a
crazy,
series
DJ.
of
I thought you were
small,
gonna send it to me.
popping
That's-
explosions as the fuel canisters ruptured. Chaos erupted. The crowd surged. Go! Sarai yelled. They sprinted across the swaying walkway. Korg
Okay,
was
so
distracted,
I
bellowing
don't
orders at
leave.
his guards.
I am getting a buzz
The
ball,
hooded buyer
and I
had
will
dropped
chug
the
it.
shard in the confusion.
I promise you.
Vance dove for
But
it.
since
His hand closed around the cool metal of the data shard just
I
as a
don't have
heavy
these
boot
sets.
slammed down inches from his fingers.
The buzz
Thief!
balls are like
Korg roared.
14-50%
Vance
of
scrambled up,
alcohol,
clutching the shard.
so-
Run! They took off, sprinting along the metal grating. Get them! Korg bellowed.
But I
The
am
chase
definitely
was a
gonna chug it. I'm
nightmare
just
of
waiting on the
physics.
buzz ball.
As they ran, the station's gravity
give me a
cyclers
little
groaned. Up became down. Vance stumbled as the floor suddenly tilted 45 degrees.
Softly, look at
He grabbed a railing,
look who I have
his
here.
legs dangling over a 100-meter drop that was now a ceiling. Sarai was agile, using the shifts to her advantage. She leaped from a walkway to a rotating signage
Not
platform,
buying this.
landing in a crouch. Jump! Vance! She shouted. Vance looked at the gap. It was 20 feet. Trust the bond, Sarai yelled. Vance gritted his teeth and launched himself. Mid-air, the gravity shifted again. His trajectory flattened.
Heavy, dude.
He slammed into the platform, sliding toward the edge. Sarai's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist. Her grip was iron. She hauled him up just as a net flew past his head. The net hit the wall and instantly hardened into jagged, translucent crystal. Crystal foam throwers. Vance gasped. Nasty. They scrambled up a maintenance ladder. Below them, Korg's hunters were firing more nets, the crystals shattering against the metal pipes. They burst through a hatch onto the upper service deck. They were cornered. A dead
I'm
end.
waiting on the buzz ball, guys. I promise.
Sarai
I'm gonna
looked at the
chug it.
ventilation fan spinning
I
slowly
will keep my
above them.
word, okay?
Can you stop that fan? She asked. Vance looked at the control box on the wall. He ripped the cover off and jammed his combat knife into the circuit board. Sparks showered him. The massive blades ground to a halt with a screech of metal.
That's crazy.
Ladies first, Vance said.
Do you wanna?
They squeezed through the blades just as a crystal net slammed into the fan housing, sealing the exit behind them. Safe aboard the rusty nail, they drifted in the shadow of a derelict satellite to avoid scans.
I'm waiting for it, and then I will do it.
Vance sat at the comms console, the stolen shard plugged into the reader.
2 shots. Honestly,
Sarai stood behind him, her hand resting on the
did
back
she
of his
buy it?
chair. The physical contact was grounding.
Wait,
The
did you
adrenaline of
just
the
pay
chase
for
was
that?
fading, leaving behind a vibration in the bond that felt like exhaustion shared between two bodies. The encryption is heavy,
Scarface?
Vance said, but standard military grade.
Do you wanna?
I can crack it. He worked in silence for 10 minutes. Then, the screen flooded with data. It was all there. Troop movements, genetic databases, recordings of council meetings discussing the pacification of independent wills. And then, a file labeled Priority Asset, Recovery Order. Vance opened it. A holographic image of Sarai rotated in the air. Beneath it, the text read, Subject, Sarai of Ethelgard. Status, Fugitive. Directive, Capture intact. Biological material required for key verification. If capture is impossible, terminate partner to induce bonded shock, then retrieve subject. And at the bottom, in bold red letters, return asset. Vance stared at the words. Terminate partner. They don't just want to kill me, he said softly. They want to use my death to break you. Sarai stared at her own face on the screen. Her expression was unreadable, but the bond radiated a cold, sharp misery. I am a mistake, she said. Her voice was hollow. A ghost from a timeline they tried to erase. As long as I am alive, their treaty is illegitimate.
Thank you.
My bloodline held the original keys to the bond technology.
That's crazy.
Without me, their mass pairing program is unstable.
What is that, 90? Oh, actually,
She looked
no,
at Vance.
I don't know. I don't really
I am
know.
not a person to them. Vance, I am a software patch, a glitch they
Steelers?
want
What
to
do you mean
correct.
Steelers? That's the Raiders.
Vance stood up. He turned and took her by the shoulders. You are not a glitch, he said firmly.
I really appreciate
You
it.
are the woman who saved my life. Twice. Sarai looked at him, her eyes searching his
You
face.
know what's crazy?
I dragged you into this, she whispered. "I made you a target.
try to check
I was
the
already a
puzzle
target,"
while
Vance said.
my
"I was
character
just a
is doing the
target without a
puzzle
purpose.
at the same
Now I
time.
have one." Sleep was
That's
a
what I
dangerous
did.
country.
Hell yeah, brother.
They set the autopilot and took shifts resting in the small crew quarters. When Vance finally closed his eyes, the exhaustion took him instantly. But the Bond didn't sleep. He was
Do you
dreaming,
want to do a collab or no?
but he wasn't on the ship.
You.
He was back
Or
in the
you gonna
cockpit of
play-
his
how long are you gonna
fighter,
play Fortnite?
hovering over the
I mean, it
refugee
doesn't matter. We can
convoy.
just end it after.
The order screamed in his headset. Fire. Fire effectively. He could feel the trigger under his thumb. He could feel the nausea, the moral vertigo of choosing between his career and his soul. He felt the crushing weight of judgment, the shame of being stripped of his rank.
Let
Then,
me know if you got it.
the scene shifted. He wasn't in a cockpit. He was small. He was standing in a great hall with high, vaulted ceilings made of singing glass. The air smelled of jasmine and smoke, fire. Not from guns, but real fire. The curtains were burning and the glass was shattering and people were running, screaming in a language he didn't speak but understood perfectly. He felt a child's terror. He felt a mother's hand ripped away from his grip. He saw a banner with a golden geometric crest falling, consumed by flames. He felt the devastating, hollowing realization that his world was ending, that everyone he loved was turning to ash. Vance woke up gasping. He was sweating, his heart hammering against his ribs. But the grief in his chest wasn't his. It was too old, too deep. Sarai. He scrambled out of the bunk. The ship was quiet,
I don't think so.
the lights dimmed to standby mode. He found her in the cargo bay. The bay was dark, illuminated only by the starlight leaking through a crack in the blast shutters. Sarai was sitting on a crate, her knees pulled to her chest. She was shaking, not shivering from cold, but shaking from the aftershocks of a memory that had torn through her sleep. Vance didn't say anything. He walked over to her. He took off his flight jacket and draped it over her shoulders. Sarai looked up. Her face was wet. Her eyes were wide, the star pattern swirling in chaotic, frightened loops. "You saw it," she whispered. "The fire."
Right.
Vance nodded. He sat down next to her. "And you saw the convoy," he said. Sarai nodded.
What kind of shit is this?
"I felt your
Dakota,
shame,"
where are you?
she said softly. It was
Come here.
heavy, like carrying a stone in your throat. "And I felt your loss," Vance said. It was like the world had been scooped out. They sat there in the silence, the shared vulnerability hanging between them. The banter, the jokes, the deflections, they were all gone. There was nowhere to hide. The Bond had stripped them bare. Sarai turned to him. She moved with a sudden, desperate hunger. She grabbed the lapels of the jacket, pulling him toward her. It wasn't a calculated move. It wasn't seductive.
What?
It was the movement of a drowning person reaching for a raft. "Hold me," she breathed. "Please, I need to know I am here. I need to know I am not back in the fire." Vance wrapped his arms around her. She buried her face in his neck, inhaling sharply. He could feel her heart racing against his chest, sinking with his... The Bond flared. It wasn't the warning heat or the danger signal. It was a warm, golden light that flooded his nervous system. It felt like coming home. It felt like the missing piece of a puzzle finally snapping into place. Vance pulled back slightly to look at her. Her lips were parted, her breath hitching. "Sarai," he warned low in his throat. She didn't listen. She leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't a movie kiss. It was messy. It was desperate. It tasted of salt and fear. It was a collision of two people who had been running for too long. Vance froze for a second, then he broke.
I don't think you
He
did.
kissed her back, his hands tangling in her white hair, pulling her closer. The sensation was overwhelming. The Bond amplified everything, the touch of her skin, the taste of her mouth, the rush of desire. It was like a feedback loop of sensation, spiraling higher and higher. He felt her hands slide under his shirt, her touch burning his skin. He felt his own control shattering, He wanted to take her right there on the cargo crate. He wanted to let the bond consume them both. Sarai pulled back abruptly. She gasped,
I'm on my way,
pushing
Destiny.
against his chest. Her eyes were wild. "Stop," she said. Her voice was raw, cracked. Vance froze, his hands hovering in the air. "What?" he panted. "We can't," Sarai said. She scrambled back, pulling the jacket tighter around herself. "Why?" Vance asked, his voice thick with frustration. "You feel this. I know you feel this. I do," Sarai cried. "That is the problem." She looked at him, tears standing in her eyes. "The bond is designed to ensure compatibility. Vance, it stimulates dopamine. It creates attraction. It forces attachment." She took a shaky breath. "If I take you now, if we do this, you will never know if it was real. You will never know if you wanted me, or if the biotech just rewrote your brain to make you want me. And I can't do that to you. I won't turn you into a slave to my biology." Vance stared at her. He felt the truth of her words. The doubt. Was this heat him? Or was it the nanites weaving through his blood? He looked at her, the woman who had saved him, the woman who carried the grief of a burning palace, the woman who had chosen him because he was defiant. He reached out and took her hand. He didn't pull her close. He just held her fingers.
Bye, Widget.
"Then tell me," he said quietly. "Tell me how to earn you without it." Sarai looked at his hand, then up at his face.
Buzzball.
"We break the system," she said. "We destroy the program. We free ourselves from the legal mandate. And then, when there are no wires, no treaties, no sensors watching us,
I got a buzzball right here.
then we see who we are."
So when I get my buzzball,
Vance nodded slowly.
There's a rifle.
"Okay,"
sniper right here.
he said. "We break the system. How?"
Thank you. Don't take my buzzball
Sarai
either.
wiped her face. The steel was returning to her spine. The data shard mentioned a mobile archive ship. She said, "The lexicon. It carries the original treaty hard copies and the source code for the bond algorithm.
Do I want this?
It is jumping through this sector in 2 days on its way to the council vote."
Yeah.
"We hijack a coalition flagship?" Vance asked, "with a cargo hauler and a pocket knife?" Sarai smiled. It was a small, fragile smile, but it was
Did someone
real.
shoot at me?
"We don't hijack
I think
it,"
someone
she
shot at
said.
me.
"We
Or is that
infiltrate
just
it.
me?
We go in, we upload the evidence of the conspiracy directly to the public newsnet, and we delete the bond protocols."
You get
But
more
Vance-
gold, and then
She squeezed his hand. "We do it clean.
Yeah.
No collateral damage, no innocent crew members getting spaced. If we become terrorists, they win. We have to be better than them." "I can do
people are shooting
clean,"
at us.
Vance said.
Yep.
"I used to be good at clean before I got messy."
Over here.
2 days later, the lexicon was a fortress in space,
Let me get him. Let me
a
get him.
massive, blocky ship bristling with sensor
I'm putting him in the
arrays.
box. I'm putting him in the box.
The rusty nail drifted silent and powered down in the debris field trailing the massive vessel. Inside the shuttle, Vance checked his gear.
Yeah.
He was wearing a stolen coalition maintenance uniform.
Where?
Sarai was dressed in the robes of a mid-level archivist, her face altered by the disguise tech again. The plan was madness.
You think so?
They were going to spacewalk from the shuttle to the lexicon's waste ejection port, override the lock, and crawl through the sanitation systems to the server core.
I'm gonna go up here. I wanna go up here.
Vance looked at Sarai. She was checking the charge on a stun baton. "Ready?" he asked. Sarai looked up. The bond was humming between them. It felt different now. Less like a chain, more like a countdown. The tension of the cargo bay scene was still there, simmering under the surface, unspent and heavy. Sarai stepped close to him. She adjusted the collar of his
I'm gonna
uniform.
drink it, I guess.
"If this goes wrong," she
I was trying to
whispered,
wait so that I
her
could
eyes
pick
locking
my
onto his.
buzzball, but
"It won't," Vance said. "But if it does," Sarai insisted, "if we get caught, if I have to do something drastic to get you out." She paused, her hand resting over his heart. "Hate me after."
okay.
She
don't
said
fall
softly.
Down, don't fall down.
"Not
Oh,
before."
right here.
Vance covered her hand with his. I'm not going to hate you, Sarai. Let's go start a revolution. He pulled his helmet on. Sarai did the same. They opened the airlock and stepped out into the void. The stars were cold and distant, but the heat in Vance's chest, the bond, the choice, the promise, burned hot enough to light the way. The interior of the lexicon was not designed for human comfort. It was designed for intimidation. The hallways were tunnels of mirrored obsidian, reflecting Vance and Sarai's disguised forms into an infinite regression of gray maintenance uniforms. Every surface was polished to a hostile shine, and the air was chilled to a temperature that kept the processors cool and the biologicals shivering. They walked with the brisk, invisible efficiency of workers who had somewhere to be. Vance carried a heavy tool case that concealed their weapons and the data extraction rig. Sarai walked half a step behind him, her head bowed, playing the role of the submissive assistant perfectly. Too perfectly. Vance watched her reflection in the walls. She moved with a specific rhythm, 3 steps, pause, scan, that he recognized from elite diplomatic protection details. You are doing it again, Vance murmured, barely moving his lips. Doing what? Sarai asked, her voice a low hum in his earbud. Walking like you own the hallway. Slouch more. You are supposed to be a sanitation tech, not a visiting dignitary. Sarai let her shoulders slump, but the grace remained. I am trying, she whispered. But these floors are ridiculous. Who polices a floor this slippery? It is a liability. They reached the first biometric checkpoint. It wasn't a simple card swipe. It was a paragon gate, a freestanding arch of white light that scanned not just for weapons, but for intent. Vance felt a spike of adrenaline. Paragon systems analyzed micro-expressions, pupil dilation, and heart rate variability to detect deception or hostility. Breathe, Sarai said through the bond. It wasn't spoken. It was a direct command sent along the neural pathway connecting them. Vance felt a wash of cool, blue calm flood his chest, dampening his racing heart. It was artificial, chemically induced by her influence over the bond, but it worked. Step forward. The gate's synthetic voice commanded, state your purpose. Routine filter maintenance on the server deck, Vance said. His voice was flat, bored. The light washed over him. He focused on the mundane details of the toolkit. Wrench, cutter, solder, clear, the gate said. Sarai stepped through. The light turned a soft amber. Subject displays elevated cortisol. The gate announced, emotional resonance detected. Vance froze. Sarai didn't flinch. She looked at the camera lens with wide, terrified eyes. A perfect performance of a lowly worker afraid of authority.
There's some over here.
I am sorry, she squeaked. I am late. My supervisor said he would dock my credits if I was late again. I just need to get to the filters. The gate processed this.
Oh, you're going that way? Okay.
Fear of supervisors was a standard baseline emotion for workers. The amber light turned green. Proceed. They hurried past the checkpoint. Once they were out of sensor range, Sarai straightened up, the fear vanishing instantly. Nice acting, Vance said. Court etiquette, Sarai replied dryly. The art of looking harmless while holding a dagger is the first lesson of the Ethelgard education. They reached the server deck. It was a cavernous room filled with towering monoliths of black data glass, humming with the collective knowledge of the coalition. This is it, Vance said. The nervous system of the galaxy. He knelt by the primary terminal, uncasing the extraction rig. Sarai stood guard, her back to him, watching the corridor. She tapped a sequence into the door panel, a complex rolling code that locked it from the outside. Where did you learn a council override code? Vance asked as he connected the rig.
You just throw it.
I didn't, Sarai said. I just rewrote the logic gate to think the door is a wall. Vance glanced at her.
We could
Refugee,
go
soldier,
zip
hacker,
try to go that way.
princess. The layers of her were starting to blur. He turned back to the screen. The decryption software, aided by the shard they had stolen, chewed through the firewalls. "We are in," Vance said. He began scrolling through the files. The sheer volume of data was staggering. "Here," he said, pulling up a manifest. "Look at this." Sarai turned. The document was a trade agreement titled the Prospero Initiative. It detailed the mate program, but the language wasn't about rehabilitation or peace. It was about leverage.
Not actually.
Subject 89 Alpha, bonded to matriarch of the Krell Syndicate. Result,
Girl, it's a
favorable trade tariffs on Tabana gas. Subject 12 Beta,
Okay,
bonded to
I'm
General
right here.
Hrock.
If you guys want to
Result,
know, just so that
cessation
we're
of border
exploring and
hostilities in Sector 7.
Oh, there's
They
footsteps
aren't
here.
just punishing criminals, Vance said, his voice hard.
Here, get
They are
that.
selling people
Get
to
that.
buy loyalty.
Someone needs to get it. I
They
have
take a rival
drug
leader,
already.
force
I
bond
guess
them
I
to
can
a
get it.
coalition asset, and use the biological link to ensure compliance. It's blackmail written into the DNA. "Keep scrolling," Sarai said, pointing to a subfolder. Project Resonance. Vance opened it. It was a technical schematic of the bond filaments. Note, involuntary termination of bond partner results in severe psychological trauma to the primary subject. Useful for conditioning. Vance felt sick. They were manufacturing heartbreak as a torture method. "Download it all," Sarai said, her hand resting on his shoulder. Every byte.
Yeah,
Vance initiated the transfer.
where the fuck
The
are
progress
you?
bar crawled forward. 40%, 50. Suddenly, the red alert klaxon screamed. The room flooded with crimson light. Vance's comm unit crackled.
How did you get any?
"Hey, kids," a voice drawled. It was Nix. "Nix," Vance shouted. "What did you do?"
Yeah,
"I
we
sold
need
a
it,
solution,"
yeah. Keep going,
Nix said,
Devina.
sounding regretful but distant. "The council offered a full pardon for my smuggling charges and a very large pile of credits. Nothing personal. You know how expensive engine parts are." The connection cut. "We have company," Sarai yelled. The door she had locked hissed. Someone was cutting through it with a plasma torch. Molten metal dripped onto the floor. "Transfer complete," Vance said, yanking the drive.
You don't believe in this?
"We can't go
got
out the
this.
way we came," Sarai said. She scanned the room.
Down.
Her eyes landed on a ventilation shaft high on the wall. "Up there," she
Okay.
pointed. They stacked crates and scrambled up. Vance boosted Sarai into the vent just as the door blew inward. Stormtroopers in white armor poured into the room,
He's
blasters
back, here we go.
firing.
And my
Vance
fucking-
hauled himself up, a plasma bolt scorching the heel of his boot. They scurried into the darkness of the ductwork. The vents were a maze. They crawled on their hands and knees, the metal vibrating with the ship's engines. "They are sealing the sectors," Sarai said, looking at her wrist gauntlet. "They are herding us toward the engineering deck." "Why engineering?" "Because that is where the gravity generators are," she said
Destiny
grimly.
said I was so lost.
They dropped out of a
It's okay,
maintenance
me all the
hatch into a
time.
long cylindrical corridor that ran the length of the ship's spine. It was empty. Too empty. "Run," Sarai said. They sprinted. They were halfway down the corridor when the world tilted. The artificial gravity didn't just fail, it snapped. The orientation shifted 90 degrees to the left. Vance slammed into the wall, which was now the floor. The wind was knocked out of him. Sarai, anticipating the shift, had managed to twist in midair and land in a roll, but the impact still jarred her. The lights flickered and strobed, disorienting flashes of white and dark. "Movement!" Sarai shouted. At the far end of the corridor, now the ceiling, a squad of gravity troopers with magnetic boots was marching toward them, walking upside down. They opened fire. Vance scrambled behind a support strut. The Bond screamed in his head, a sharp, piercing headache caused by the sudden physical trauma and the proximity of danger. "We need to cross the junction," Sarai yelled, pointing to a blast door 10 meters away. They moved, leaping from strut to strut. The gravity shifted again, this time reversing completely. Vance fell toward the original ceiling. He grabbed a pipe, his arms wrenching in their sockets. Sarai landed beside him, locking her legs around the pipe. She fired her stun baton, sending a pulse of electricity into a trooper who was falling past them. The blast door was closing. "Go!" Sarai shouted. They swung from the pipe, launching themselves through the narrowing gap. Vance rolled through. Sarai followed, but as she landed, a heavy containment shutter slammed down between them. She was on the other side. "Sarai!" Vance screamed, hammering on the metal. "Open it!" he yelled. "I can't." Sarai's voice came through the comms, breathless. "The locking mechanism is on your side, but the override is on mine, and they are here. Vance." He heard the sound of blaster fire on her end, the hum of vibroblades. "Open the door!" "Sarai, no," she said. Her voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. "You have the drive. You have the evidence. I am not leaving you. You have to," she said. "If they catch us both, the truth dies. If you run, you can broadcast it." Vance leaned his forehead against the cold metal. The bond was surging, a frantic, clawing sensation of separation. It felt like his own skin was being peeled off. "Sarai, please. Promise me," she hissed. "Promise me you won't trade yourself back. Do not let them use your love as a cage. Run, Vance, run!" He heard a struggle, the sound of a heavy impact, and then silence. Sarai? Static. Vance stood alone in the flickering corridor. The drive in his pocket felt heavy, like a stone. He wanted to open the door. He wanted to kill everyone on the ship. But he heard her voice in his head. Love without choice is captivity. If he surrendered now to be with her, he proved the council right. He proved that the bond was a leash. He turned and ran. Vance found a maintenance closet in the lower decks and wedged himself behind a recycling unit. He sat in the dark, breathing hard. He was alone. For the first time in weeks, the constant low-level hum of Sarai's presence was gone, replaced by a dull, aching void. It was worse than grief. It was an amputation. He checked the drive. It was safe. He could steal a pod. He could leave. He could broadcast the data from the next system over. But Sarai was here. He remembered the tribunal, the way she had looked at him. Try not to fall in love. He remembered the panic room. "I hunted you." He wasn't leaving, but he couldn't just charge in. Nix had sold them out. The station was on high alert. The AI was watching for him. He needed chaos. He needed a distraction so loud and so absurd that the precise military mind of the Paragon AI couldn't process it. He tapped into the ship's manifest on his datapad. He looked for anything: cargo, hazardous materials, prisoners. His eyes landed on a scheduled arrival manifest for the diplomatic reception deck. Delegation, the Gilded Motley, performance troupe from the Saturnine moons. Status: awaiting customs clearance in Bay 4. Vance stared at the screen. A performance troupe. Clowns, acrobats, fire eaters. They were famous for their chaotic, anarchic shows that bordered on riots, and they were stuck in customs. Vance cracked a grim smile. Bay 4 was a holding pen for the strange and colorful. The Gilded Motley troupe sat on their luggage. Tall, spindly aliens in sequined bodysuits. Humans in grotesque masks, jugglers tossing balls of plasma. They were bored and angry. The intercom crackled. "Attention, valued guests." Vance's voice boomed over the PA, deepened by a modulator. "This is the cultural minister. We apologize for the delay. As a gesture of goodwill, the grand reception has been moved forward. You are authorized to begin your performance immediately. The theme is Liberation. Vance hit the override command. The customs barriers dissolved. The lights in the bay switched from harsh white to a strobing psychedelic disco pattern he hacked from the entertainment mainframe.
Okay, everything.
You may proceed to the detention block for the VIP audience, Vance added. Make it loud. The troop roared with delight. Instruments blared, horns that sounded like dying elephants, drums that shook the floor. They surged into the hallways, a tidal wave of feathers, glitter, and sonic weaponry. Vance slipped into the stream of chaos.
I literally was on top of the hill.
He grabbed a discarded feathered cape and a mask from a pile of props and wrapped himself in them. The ship's security didn't know what to do. The Paragon AI was screaming about unauthorized access, but the cameras saw dancing, laughing figures. It couldn't identify a threat because everything was a threat. Troopers tried to halt the procession, but they were engulfed by acrobats vaulting over their heads and fire breathers spitting green flames into the air. Vance moved with the crowd, pushing toward the detention block. The bond ache in his chest was a compass needle, pulling him toward her. He reached the security station outside the cell block. 2 guards were staring, bewildered, as a 6-legged juggler tossed knives at the ceiling. Vance stepped out of the crowd. He dropped the cape. He raised his stun baton and took them down before they even realized he wasn't part of the show. He grabbed the key card from the unconscious guard and swiped it. The cell was stark white. Sarai was chained to a chair in the center. She looked bad. Her lip was split, bleeding violet blood.
Shane, hello.
There was a dark bruise blossoming on her cheekbone, and her silver dress was torn at the shoulder. But her head was up. She was staring at the wall with bored contempt. The door slid open. Sarai turned, ready to spit an insult at an interrogator. She saw Vance. He stood there, panting, still holding the feathered mask in one hand. Sarai stared at him. Then she started to laugh. It was a wet, painful sound, but it was genuine. "You are terrible at following instructions," she rasped. Vance rushed to her. He fell to his knees, his hands hovering over the restraints. "I promised I wouldn't trade myself back," he said, his voice thick. "I didn't. I broke in. There is a difference." He hacked the electronic cuffs. They clicked open. Sarai rubbed her wrists. The skin was raw and purple. Vance reached out and gently touched the bruising. His hands were shaking. Seeing her hurt, seeing the physical proof of the council's violence broke something inside him. "Sarai," he whispered. She looked at him. The laughter faded, replaced by a fierce, shining intensity. "Why did you come back?" she asked. "You could be halfway to the jump point." Vance looked into her eyes, those deep, star map eyes that had terrified him in the courtroom. "I need to know," he said. "Know what? Did you choose this?" he asked. His voice cracked. "Did you choose me? Or was it just the mission? Was I just the only pilot with a psychological profile that fit your needs?" Sarai went still. The noise of the riot outside seemed to fade. "Vance," she said softly. "Tell me," he demanded. "Because the bond makes me feel things I shouldn't. It makes me want to die when you are not there. And I need to know if that is real." Sarai reached out. She took his face in her hands. Her skin was cool, but the bond flared hot and bright, a supernova in his veins. "I chose the mission," she said. "Yes, I needed a weapon." Vance flinched, but she held him fast. "But then I read your file," she continued. "I watched the footage of you saving those refugees. I saw a man who destroyed his own career because he couldn't bear to let strangers die." Her thumbs brushed the tears from under his eyes. "I hated how they talked about you," she whispered. "The council called you a broken asset, a recalcitrant element. But I looked at you, Vance, And I saw the only person in the galaxy who was as lonely as I was. She leaned her forehead against his. I chose you because you still looked like a person, she said. And I fell in love with you. Not because of the bond, but because you came back. Vance let out a breath he felt like he had been holding since the tribunal. He closed the distance. He kissed her. This time, there was no hesitation, no fear of the program. It was a collision of grief and relief. It was a vow made in blood and breath. It was messy and desperate and perfect. It tasted of her blood and his sweat. The bond sang. It wasn't a chain anymore. It was a melody. A harmony of two voices shouting the same name. They broke apart, gasping. We have to go, Vance said. The troop won't hold them forever. Sarai stood up, swaying slightly. Vance caught her. Can you move? I can fly, she said, a dangerous smile returning to her lips. Just point me at a ship. They fought their way out. The corridor was a war zone of confetti and laser fire. The gilded motley had turned the riot into a full-scale brawl. They reached the airlock where the rusty nail was docked. Almost there. Vance shouted. A squad of heavy troopers blocked the path. Halt! Sarai didn't stop. She raised a hand, and the heavy metal crate next to the troopers flew across the room, slamming into them. Telekinesis? Vance yelled, firing his blaster. Magnetic manipulation, Sarai corrected, gritting her teeth. The royal gauntlets. They pushed forward. Civilians, members of the troop, were cowering behind a cargo loader. A trooper raised his rifle, aiming at a terrified acrobat. Sarai saw it. No! She screamed. She broke cover. She threw herself in front of the civilian just as the trooper fired. The plasma bolt hit her in the side. Sarai! Vance roared. She crumbled, sliding to the floor. Vance turned his weapon on the trooper and fired a single lethal shot. He dropped the gun and scooped Sarai up. She was conscious, but her breath was shallow. The silver mesh of her dress was scorched black at her ribs. I am okay, she gasped. Just a scratch. Liar, Vance said, his heart hammering with terror. He carried her into the airlock. He laid her on the co-pilot seat of the shuttle. Get us out of here, she whispered, clutching her side. Vance threw himself into the pilot's seat. He fired the engines, the clamps disengaged. The rusty nail shot away from the lexicon just as the flagship's turrets began to track them. Vance punched the hyperdrive. Jump! The stars blurred into lines. They were gone. Hours later, they drifted in the silence of deep space. The ship was hidden in the magnetic shadow of a derelict vessel, a massive, ancient structure that looked more like a floating cathedral than a starship. It was a temple ship of the Ethel Guard. Vance had patched Sarai up. The wound was deep, cauterized by the plasma, but she was healing. Her alien physiology was resilient. She lay on the bunk, pale but alive. Vance sat by the comms console, looking at the data from the archive. Sarai, he said quietly. She opened her eyes. What is it? Vance turned the screen toward her. I was looking at the treaty rewrite, the one Nix told us about, and it requires a specific genetic key to authorize the mass bonding protocol, Vance said. A prime source. Sarai closed her eyes. Me, she said. Not just you, Vance said. Your bloodline. The Ethel Guard were the original keepers of the bond technology. They created it to end wars, not start them. The Coalition killed your family to steal the tech, but they can't unlock its full potential without a living member of the royal house. He looked at her. That is why they kept you alive. Sarai, that is why they made you a high lady instead of a prisoner. You are the key. If they get you back, they can enslave the entire galaxy. Sarai stared at the ceiling of the shuttle. Then we cannot hide, she whispered. No, Vance said. We can't. He reached out and took her
I
hand.
don't even think he's getting their tags.
But we aren't hiding anymore. Sarai, we are regrouping.
I think he just ran.
He looked out the viewport at the silent, drifting temple ship. And I think we just found our base of operations. The docking ring of the derelict temple ship groaned as the rusty nail clamped onto its ancient hull. Dust motes, undisturbed for centuries, danced in the vacuum-sealed corridor as the pressure equalized. Vance checked the seal on his environmental suit, though Sarai had assured him the atmosphere inside was breathable. She stood at the airlock door, her hand hovering over a panel that looked less like technology and more like art. A slab of dark obsidian etched with gold filaments.
I'm picking him up.
It has been sleeping for 1,000 years, Sarai whispered. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with reverence. She pressed her palm against the stone.
I'm locking him in there.
The reaction was instantaneous. A pulse of white light rippled outward from her hand, racing along the etched gold lines like liquid fire. The walls of the corridor hummed, a deep, resonant cello note that vibrated in the marrow of Vance's bones.
Get back in there.
The heavy stone doors didn't slide open. They dissolved into a mist of sparkling energy, reforming into an archway.
Where do you think you're going,
Vance stepped back, his hand instinctively going to the blaster on his hip. Friendly? He asked. Family, Sarai corrected. She stepped through the archway. As she moved, the ship woke up around her. Bioluminescent moss lining the high vaulted ceiling flared to life, casting a soft twilight blue glow over the interior.
He's pissed.
Holographic statues, tall, robed figures with faces obscured by hoods, flickered into existence along the walls, bowing their heads as she passed. Vance followed her. The moment he crossed the threshold, the ship reacted to him too. The blue light shifted, warming to a golden amber. A separate set of glyphs on the floor ignited, tracking his footsteps. It recognizes you, Sarai said, stopping to look at the floor. Why? Vance asked, looking at the glowing footprints. I am human. I am nobody. You are bonded, she said. She walked to a massive circular door at the end of the nave. It had no handle, no keypad, just two depressions in the stone, spaced widely apart. Sarai placed her hand in the left depression. The door groaned but did not move. The light in the carvings flickered, incomplete. It requires balance, Sarai said softly. The technology of my ancestors was not built for commands. It was built for consensus. One hand to lead, one hand to anchor. She looked at him. Vance stepped up beside her. He placed his hand in the right depression. The stone warmed under his touch. A circuit completed. The humming sound harmonized, lifting into a major key. The massive door split down the middle and swung inward with a smoothness that defied its size. Inside was the stellar cartography room, a sphere of black glass where the entire galaxy was projected in stunning living detail. Vance stared at it. It wasn't just a map. It showed trade routes, energy flows, and biological migration patterns. It showed the galaxy not as a collection of territories, but as a single, breathing organism. This is what they stole, Sarai said, walking into the center of the projection. She turned to face him, the starlight from the map reflecting on her skin. The House of Ethelgard did not rule by force. Vance, we were the arbiters. We used the bond technology to ensure that treaties were honored. If two leaders signed a peace accord, they were bonded. They could not lie to each other. They could not plot betrayal without the other feeling it. The bond was meant to force truth. It was the ultimate check on power. She gestured to the map. The coalition wiped us out because truth is bad for business. They took the tech, stripped out the consent protocols, and turned a tool of peace into a shackle. Vance looked at the floating stars. And you are the last one, he said, I am the heir, Sarai said, the last living member of the house. My DNA is the master key. That is why the door opened. That is why the ship sings. And that is why, if they catch me, they will not just kill me. They will hook me up to a machine and use my blood to authorize permanent control over every bonded pair in existence. The weight of it settled in the room.
What the fuck?
Vance looked at the woman he had started to know. Not the princess, not the fugitive, but Sarai. He saw the fatigue in her shoulders. Then we make sure they don't catch you, Vance said. The data from the lexicon was encrypted with a cipher that even the temple ship's ancient computers couldn't crack. It required a biological interpretative key, a specific enzyme found in the saliva of a rare fauna on the planet Oakhaven, a world inhabited by exiled archivists who had served the Ethel Guard. We have to go there, Sarai said. It is the only way to read the final layer of the evidence. Oakhaven was a jungle planet, a riot of green and violet vegetation that grew with aggressive speed. They landed the rusty nail in a clearing that looked suspiciously like a mouth. Vance was struggling with his gear. The temple ship had a fabrication unit, and Sarai had insisted he wear a Vraxian survival suit. It is too tight, Vance complained, tugging at the collar, and it keeps vibrating every time I slouch. It is a kinetic assist suit, Sarai said, adjusting her own pack. It corrects your posture to maximize oxygen intake. Stop hunching. It makes me walk like a marionette, Vance grumbled, marching stiff-legged down the ramp. The jungle was humid and loud. Strange, multi-winged birds screeched from the canopy. The ground was soft, covered in moss that rippled when they stepped on it. They hiked for 4 hours. The terrain was treacherous, roots that tried to trip them, mud that acted like glue. But despite the danger, there was a lightness between them. Vance slipped on a wet rock, flailing his arms. The suit immediately locked his joints to prevent injury, leaving him frozen in a ridiculous pose, one leg in the air, arms wide.
What are you drinking?
Sarai turned back. She didn't offer to help immediately. She just looked at him, an eyebrow raised. Is this a human mating dance? She asked. Because it is very avant-garde. Vance glared at her. Unlock the suit, Sarai. She smiled, a genuine teasing smile that made her eyes crinkle. She tapped a command into her wrist unit. The suit relaxed, and Vance collapsed into the mud with a squelch. Graceful, she noted. Vance wiped mud from his face. He looked at her, standing there pristine in the chaos of the jungle, and he started to laugh. You are enjoying this, he said. I am enjoying you, she replied. The banter felt easy. The bond, which had once been a screaming alarm in his head, had settled into a comfortable rhythm. He could feel her amusement before she smiled. She could feel his frustration before he spoke. It wasn't invasive anymore. It was companionable.
I need to fight.
They found the archivist's enclave in a hollowed-out giant tree. The archivist was a small, wrinkled being with 4 eyes and hands that moved like water.
Holy shit.
He greeted Sarai with a bow so low his forehead touched the floor. Hi, lady, the archivist croaked. We thought the line was broken. It is frayed, Sarai said gently, but not broken. They spent the night in the enclave while the archivist prepared the enzyme solution. The air was thick with the scent of burning herbs and rain. Sarai and Vance sat on a balcony overlooking the jungle. The moons were rising, casting twin shadows across the canopy. Vance watched Sarai. She was cleaning her weapon, her movements precise and automatic. You do that when you are nervous, Vance said. Sarai paused. Do what? Field strip your blaster. You have done it 3 times in the last hour. Sarai looked down at the disassembled weapon components. I suppose I do, she admitted. She reassembled it with a click. Vance leaned back against the wooden railing.
Really quick, I'm gonna use the restroom.
I know you hum when the navigation computer is slow, he
I
said.
need to use restroom.
I know you prefer your ration bars warmed up exactly 30 seconds.
I'll be right back.
I know you are terrified of small spaces, even though you pretend you are not. Sarai looked at him, her expression softening. And I know you count your steps when you are entering a new room, she said. I know you hate the color yellow because it reminds you of the tribunal robes. And I know you pretend to be asleep when the nightmares hit me, just so I don't feel guilty for waking you up. Vance went still. You knew about that. The bond. Vance, she said quietly. I feel your breathing change. She set the weapon down. She moved closer to him on the bench. The distance between them was negligible, charged with the static electricity of the bond and something else, something purely human. We have been running for weeks, Sarai said. We have been fighting, hiding, surviving. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool, but the contact sent a wave of warmth through him. I am tired of running. Vance, just for tonight. Vance looked at her. The air between them shifted. The playfulness of the jungle hike was gone, replaced by a heavy, undeniable gravity. He didn't pull away. He didn't question the bond. He looked at her, Sarai, the woman who had saved him, the woman who had chosen him. He lifted his hand and brushed a strand of white hair from her face. You don't have to run, he said. I am right here. Sarai leaned into his touch, her eyes closed. He felt a tremor go through her, not fear, but a release of tension held for too long. Vance, she whispered. She turned her face into his palm and kissed the center of his hand. It was a gesture of such profound trust that it made his chest ache. She opened her eyes. The star map patterns were swirling slow and golden. I want this, she said. Her voice was steady. I am not checking my hormone levels. I am not analyzing the bond resonance. I am looking at you, and I am choosing you. Vance searched her face. He needed to be sure. If we do this, he said, his voice rough, it changes everything. I know, Sarai said. That is the point. She moved first. She straddled his lap, her movements fluid. Vance's hands went to her waist, anchoring her. When he kissed her, it wasn't like the desperate collision in the cargo bay. It was slow. It was deliberate. It was a conversation without words. The bond flared, but they ignored it. But they pushed past the biological imperative and found the person underneath. It wasn't about the nanites syncing their heartbeats. It was about the way her breath hitched when he touched the scar on her shoulder. It was about the way his hands shook as he unclasped the silver mesh of her gown. The intimacy that followed was quiet. It wasn't a performance for cameras. It wasn't a data point for the council. It was a reclamation. In the darkness of the tree city, with the rain drumming on the roof, they took back the one thing the coalition had tried to steal from them, their agency. There was heat, yes. There was the friction of skin and the tangle of limbs, but mostly, there was a profound sense of relief. It was the feeling of finally setting down a heavy load. It was the realization that he wasn't alone in his head anymore. And for the first time, he didn't want to be. Afterward, they lay together under a rough woven blanket. The jungle sounds were a distant hum. Sarai rested her head on his chest. Vance traced the line of the glowing gold markings on her collarbone. They are beautiful, he murmured. They are a map, Sarai said sleepily, of the home I can never go back to. Vance tightened his arm around her. We will find a new home. Sarai went quiet. The bond carried a spike of sudden, sharp fear from her to him. What is it? Vance asked. Sarai pushed herself up. She looked down at him, her
Send a
expression
picture.
serious.
Or you can just.
If they
Are
catch
you
us
about to say
now,
it?
she said, it will be worse. Why? Because now they have leverage, she said. Before, you were just a tool to them. Now, they know you are my weakness. She touched his face. If they threaten you, Vance, I don't know if I can be the arbiter. I don't know if I can choose the galaxy over you,
What are we looking at?
and that terrifies me. Vance took her hand and kissed her
No,
knuckles.
like on his stream.
Then we make sure they never get the chance to ask.
Yeah, why?
The
why
archivist
is your view
decrypted the
like that?
shard. The evidence was damning. It wasn't just a treaty amendment. It was a blueprint for a coup.
Oh wait.
The
it's because
Coalition
my shit's
Council
not,
planned to use the mass
there you
pairing
go.
to override the free
was, like,
will of the entire
like,
Outer
posted
Rim
originally.
military.
My bad.
We need to
That
present
was
this,
from-
Sarai said,
It was from earlier.
but not to the Council. They are compromised.
Becca, shut up.
The archivist suggested the Tribunal of Oakhaven. It was an ancient neutral court, technically independent of coalition law, used for settling disputes between non-aligned worlds. If we go there, Sarai reasoned, we are on neutral ground. They cannot arrest us. We present the evidence. The tribunal broadcasts it to the free systems, and the coalition loses its legitimacy. It sounded perfect. It sounded too perfect. They traveled to the tribunal spire at the planet's pole. It was a structure of white marble and glass, rising out of the snow. They entered the great chamber. 3 judges sat on a high dais, their faces obscured by ceremonial veils. Sarai stood tall, holding the data shard. Vance stood beside her, his hand near his weapon, his senses on high alert.
I just started playing.
We come to petition for
I
justice,
used to be a
Sarai
variety
announced,
streamer
her voice ringing in
until
the
I
hall.
started playing Tekken, and
We
then I
bring
was addicted
evidence
to
of high
Tekken,
treason by the Coalition
and
Council.
I had to take a break in order to
The central
start
judge
playing
leaned
other
forward.
games again
Approach.
because,
High Lady Sarai,
yeah, my life was
we have been
going to
expecting
shit.
you. Vance frowned.
So here I am
Expecting?
playing Fortnite.
Sarai stepped forward and placed the shard on the pedestal.
I'm actually new to Fortnite too. This is
This
my first
contains
time ever
proof of the
playing it.
forced bonding
I've been playing it
protocols,
for,
she said.
what, like 2 weeks
The
now,
judge didn't look at the shard. He looked at Sarai. We have reviewed the evidence, the judge said. It
maybe?
is
Like, for
compelling.
like 2 weeks, I think.
However,
Maybe.
the coalition has made a counteroffer. Vance drew his blaster.
Ooh, Tekken
It's a
8?
trap,
Dude,
he
who is your
yelled.
main? Who the
Doors
fuck is
slammed
your
shut
main?
around the
Right now.
perimeter. From the shadows behind the dais, coalition shock troopers emerged, weapons raised, but they didn't fire. A
Thank
figure
you,
stepped out
Fox.
from
I
the ranks of the
appreciate
soldiers.
you.
It was Council
Are you
Liaison
serious?
Krell. He looked smug,
I appreciate
adjusting
you
his
so
cuffs.
much.
Neutrality is such an expensive
So yeah,
luxury,
once the countdown
Krell
is,
said,
like,
smiling at the
free, you should
judges.
be at the top of the wave
The
so that
coalition
you can
pays
be,
better.
as high as possible.
Sarai didn't move. She stood frozen,
Like,
looking at
the
Krell.
wave. So when the
You bought a
countdown gets
court
to,
of
like,
law?
3,
She
you have to
asked,
be at the top of
her
the
voice
wave
dripping
so
with
that you're
disgust.
higher up when we
Bought a
once they shoot you up.
verdict, Krell corrected. He walked down the steps, stopping 10 feet from them. Here is the deal. Sarai, Krell said, you are a valuable asset, too valuable to damage. We are willing to overlook your little rebellion. We will restore your title. We will give you a palace. All you have to do is submit to the procedure.
Nice,
Give us the blood
nice.
sample. Unlock the treaty. And if I refuse? Sarai asked.
I haven't streamed
Krell
in,
looked
like,
at
a week,
Vance.
I think it's been.
Then we
Or,
execute
you
your
guys are all
pet,
here, right?
he said casually.
Huh?
Right here. And we broadcast it. We will watch you break, Sarai. And then we will take the blood anyway. Vance stepped in front of Sarai.
Games in later.
Over my
I'll
dead
be on
body,
Weekend 2 Frogs, so
he
we can play
growled.
too this week.
Krell sighed.
I'll be streaming
That is
Tekken,
literally the proposal.
PUBG,
Yes.
Fortnite,
Vance looked back at Sarai.
and I don't know what else.
He saw the terror in her eyes, the fear she had confessed in the jungle. She was wavering. She was looking at the troopers, calculating the odds, realizing they were 0.
The last time I played it, I got
Sarai, Vance said urgent and low, do not do it.
yeah.
They will kill you, she whispered. I am dead anyway,
Kids nowadays
Vance
are so
said.
mean.
If you give them the key, they enslave everyone. including me. Do not trade the galaxy for my life.
Nah, I'm just kidding.
Sarai looked at him. She saw the resolve in his face. She saw the love. Yes, but she also saw the soldier. Krell checked his chrono. 5 seconds. Hi, lady. Choose the throne or the grave. Sarai took a deep breath. She straightened her spine. The gold markings on her skin seemed to flare with light. She stepped out from behind Vance. I choose, she said, her voice like steel. Krell smiled. Excellent. Seize her. I choose him. Sarai interrupted. And I choose war. She raised her hands. Not in surrender, but in a gesture of power. She didn't use the magnetic gauntlets.
Unless you didn't tell me.
She used the bond. She screamed. It was a psychic scream, amplified by the connection to Vance and projected outward. It wasn't telepathy. It was pure, weaponized empathy. She took all the pain, all the fear, all the rage of the last month, and she threw it at the judges and the soldiers. For a second, everyone in the room buckled. Krell fell to his knees, clutching his head, gasping as he felt the phantom sensation of being burned alive, her memory of the palace fire. The troopers staggered, their discipline shattered by a wave of crushing grief. Run! Sarai yelled. She grabbed Vance's hand. They bolted. Vance fired blindly at the chandelier above the dais. It crashed down, creating a barrier of glass and twisted metal between them and the troopers. They sprinted through the corridors of the tribunal. Alarms wailed. They burst out into the snow. The rusty nail was parked on the landing pad, engines idling. The archivist had kept it hot. They scrambled up the ramp as blaster fire chewed up the snow around them. Vance punched it. The ship shot into the sky, shaking violently as flak burst around them. They broke the atmosphere. They were alive. But the comms panel lit up. It wasn't a hail. It was a news feed. Every channel, every frequency was broadcasting their faces. Terrorist attack on neutral tribunal. The headline screamed, Rogue royal and human consort murder judges wanted dead or alive. Vance stared at the screen. The footage was doctored. It showed Vance shooting the judges. It showed Sarai laughing as the building burned. They spun the narrative, Vance said, his voice hollow. We aren't heroes. We are monsters. Sarai sat in the co-pilot seat. She looked at the image of herself, the twisted version the coalition had created. She looked down at her hands. They want a monster? She said softly. She looked up at Vance. Her eyes were hard, the softness of the jungle gone. Fine. I will give them one. She stood up. Set a course for the temple ship, she ordered. Vance looked at her. Why? We can't hide there anymore. They will be hunting us. We are not going there to hide, Sarai said. She walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. The temple ship has a broadcast core. Vance. It was designed to send the truth song to every bonded pair in the galaxy simultaneously. It overrides all local frequencies. It overrides the inhibitors. If you use that, Vance said, realizing what she meant, you expose everything. The conspiracy, the treaty, and me. Sarai said, it requires a biometric lock. If I activate it, my location, my identity, my DNA signature, it will all be beaconed to the entire galaxy. Every hunter, every assassin, every desperate warlord will know exactly where I am. Vance stood up. It's a suicide mission. Sarai, once you turn that on, there is no going back. You will be the most hunted person in existence. Sarai turned to him. I already am, she said. But at least this way, the truth gets out first. She walked over to him and placed her hand on his chest. I told you I wouldn't let them turn my choice into a weapon, she said. This is me fighting back. Vance looked at her. He saw the fear she was pushing down. He saw the tremble in her hand. but he also saw the queen she was born to be. He covered her hand with his. Then let's go be loud, he said. He turned back to the console and punched in the coordinates. Next stop, the temple ship. And then, we tell the galaxy the truth, even if it kills us. The temple ship did not just wake up, it ascended, deep in the obsidian void of the outer rim. The ancient vessel began to shed its centuries of dust. Veins of gold light erupted along the hull, tracing geometric patterns that pulsed with the rhythm of a waking heart. It was no longer a derelict ruin. It was a second sun, rising in the dark, calling out to the galaxy with a silent gravitational song. Inside the stellar cartography chamber, the air was thick with the hum of the broadcast core. Sarai stood at the central console, her hands hovering over the interface. She looked exhausted. The wound in her side had been field-dressed, but blood was seeping through the bandage, staining the silver mesh of her torn gown. "It is charging," she said, her voice tight. "The broadcast requires total saturation. We need 3 minutes before the signal is strong enough to override the coalition jamming frequencies." Vance checked the tactical display. It was a nightmare of red dots. "We do not have 3 minutes," he said grimly. "Look." The holographic sphere showed the space around them. It was crowded. Coalition dreadnoughts, massive and blocky, were dropping out of hyperspace in formation, their weapon ports glowing green. But they weren't alone. Swarms of smaller ships, rebel fighters, smuggler skiffs, mercenary frigates looking for a payout, were converging on the light of the temple ship like moths to a flame. It was a galaxy-spanning chase that had ended in a deadlock. "They are hailing us," Vance said. "It is the High Adjudicator, and put it on audio," Sarai commanded. The voice that filled the chamber was smooth, cold, and terrifyingly reasonable. "High Lady Sarai, you have nowhere left to run. Power down the core and surrender. If you activate that broadcast, you destabilize the peace of 1,000 worlds."
I mean, we can choose.
Sarai leaned toward the pickup. "The peace of a graveyard," she retorted. "I am not destabilizing it. Adjudicator. I am illuminating it. Then you choose extinction," the Adjudicator replied. The transmission cut. On the tactical map, the dreadnoughts launched boarding pods. They looked like metal leeches streaking toward the golden hull of the temple. "They are boarding," Vance said, drawing his weapon. Sarai turned to him. She looked at the massive double interface of the broadcast core. "Vance, listen to me. This system was built by the Ethelguard to ensure that no single ruler could dictate truth. It requires 2 keys to activate." "2 keys?" "A biological key," Sarai said, tapping her chest, "the blood of the royal line, and a resonance key, a bonded partner." She looked at him, her eyes searching his face. "But it is not just a biometric scan," she continued. "The core tests for free will. It analyzes the bond. If it detects coercion, if it detects the artificial slavery the coalition programmed into us, it will lock down. It will not broadcast." Vance holstered his weapon and stepped up to the console. "So it needs to know I am not a puppet," he said. "It needs to know that you are choosing this," Sarai said. "That you are choosing me. Not because of the nanites. Not because of the fear. But because you want to." Vance looked at the door. He could hear the thud of magnetic boots on the hull above them. The enemy was inside. "I made my choice in the jungle. Sarai. Let's make some noise." The corridors of the temple ship became a battlefield of colliding eras. Coalition stormtroopers, clad in pristine white armor and wielding rapid-fire plasma rifles, poured into the nave. They moved with mechanical precision, a wave of suppression. Against them stood Vance and Sarai, fighting with a mixture of guerrilla tactics and ancient defense systems. Sarai waved her hand, and the glyphs on the walls rotated, firing beams of hard light that stunned the lead troopers. Vance used the distraction to flank them, his stolen blaster barking steady, controlled shots. The air smelled of ozone and ancient dust. The blue light of the ship clashed with the harsh red of the plasma bolts, creating a strobe effect that made the violence look like a disjointed dance.
There's no fucking way.
They fell back toward the inner sanctum. A blast door slammed shut behind them, sealed by Sarai's command. But sparks immediately began to fly from the center as the troopers started cutting through. "We need to get to the upper gallery," Sarai shouted over the roar of the cutting torch. "The manual overrides are there." They sprinted down a side passage. A security drone hovered into view, a sleek, black Coalition model. It scanned them, its weapon charging. Target identified. Unrecognized biometric signature. Prepare for pacification. Vance didn't shoot. He didn't have a clear shot past the rotating gears of the ship's internal mechanism. Instead, he remembered the ridiculous etiquette lessons the archivist had rambled about on Oakhaven. Codes and phrases used to greet ancient automated systems. Vance stepped forward, threw his arms wide in a grand absurd gesture, and bellowed at the drone. "I invoke the right of the celestial turnip. Glory to the fermented root and the sacred peel." The drone paused. Its logic processors stalled, trying to cross-reference celestial turnip with its threat database. The red eye blinked, confused. Query: celestial turnip? Definition not found. In that second of hesitation, Vance kicked a heavy steam pipe next to the drone. The pipe ruptured, blasting the machine with high-pressure vapor. It spun out of control and smashed into the wall. Sarai, who had been ready to crush the drone with magnetism, stared at Vance. Then, she let out a sound that was half gasp, half laugh. It was a bright, startled sound cutting through the terror of the moment. She looked at him, her eyes crinkling, and for a heartbeat, she wasn't a fugitive queen or a soldier. She was just a woman watching her partner do something incredibly stupid and effective. "You are insane," she said, shaking her head. "It worked, didn't it?" Vance grinned, wiping sweat from his forehead. "The archivist said the old systems prioritize ritual over logic. I figured I would improvise." "I think the archivist was senile," Sarai said, a smile lingering on her lips. "But I like your version better."
We lost the Super
The blast
Bowl.
door behind them exploded inward. "Move!" Vance yelled. They scrambled up the ramp to the gallery, but they were cut off. A second squad of troopers dropped from the ceiling vents, surrounding them. And behind the troopers walked the High Adjudicator. She was not like the holographic projection. In person, she was small, elderly, and terrifying.
Wait, who?
She wore robes of white silk that seemed to repel the dust. She walked with a cane that hummed with a power dampener field. "Enough," the adjudicator said softly. The troopers raised their weapons.
Where are we going?
Vance stepped in front of Sarai, shielding her. "Adjudicator," Sarai said, her voice cold. "You look older in person. Corruption ages the skin, I suppose." The adjudicator stopped 10 feet away.
5'1".
She looked at the two of them, Vance, dirty and bloodied, standing protectively over the wounded royal heir. "It is a pity," the adjudicator said. "We built a perfect system, a galaxy without conflict, where enemies become lovers, where war ends in marriage, and you want to destroy it because of
That's
what?
fucking funny.
Sentimentality? We want to destroy it because it is a lie." Vance spat. "You don't create peace. You create hostages. Peace is control," the adjudicator replied smoothly. "That is the philosophy of civilization. Operative Vance. Humans are chaotic. Vraxians are aggressive. Left alone, you burn worlds. Bonded, you are productive. Love is simply a chemical reaction we use as leverage. It is a leash. and a leash keeps the dog from running into traffic. Sarai stepped out from behind Vance. She stood tall, despite the pain in her side. "You are wrong," she said. Her voice rang off the high ceiling. Connection without agency is not harmony. Adjudicator, it is occupation. You can force bodies together. You can sync heartbeats. But you cannot manufacture loyalty. You are not building a civilization. You are building a prison and calling it a home. The adjudicator sighed, eloquent and irrelevant. "Secure them." The troopers moved. Vance raised his blaster, but the adjudicator tapped her cane on the floor. A shockwave of dampening energy pulsed out. Vance's weapon died. The lights on his suit flickered and went dark. They grabbed him. 4 troopers pinned his arms. 2 more grabbed Sarai, forcing her to her knees. "Take the human to the resonance chamber." The adjudicator commanded. "No!" Sarai screamed, struggling against her captors. "We will not kill him." "Sarai," the adjudicator said calmly, "we will simply adjust him. The broadcast requires 2 willing keys." "Fine. We will make him unwilling. We will override his bond response until the very sight of you makes him vomit, until he rejects you on a cellular level." She looked at Vance with pity. "By the time we are done, operative, you will beg to be released from her, and the broadcast will fail. Take him away." Vance fought.
He's down.
He kicked and thrashed, shouting Sarai's
I want
name.
him. I'm gonna pick him
He
up.
saw her eyes wide, terrified, burning with helpless rage, before the blast doors slammed shut between them. The resonance chamber was a white room filled with needles of light.
I got
They
it,
strapped Vance into a chair that looked like a medical device but felt like an electric chair.
Shut the door.
A technician, a faceless drone of the system, attached nodes to Vance's temples, his chest, his wrists. The adjudicator watched from behind a glass wall.
That's what you get for trying to get
"Initiate
out,
the
buddy.
dissonance protocol," she ordered over the intercom. "Invert the bond frequency."
No, I killed him.
Pain hit Vance like a physical blow. It wasn't external. It came from inside. The golden, warm hum of the bond, the connection to Sarai that had become his anchor, suddenly turned curdled and wrought black. Images flashed in his mind.
Bitch.
Sarai's face. But instead of affection, the machine pumped artificial disgust into his brain. It tried to rewrite his neural pathways, and it tried to tell him that she was a monster, that she was the reason for his pain, that she was a parasite eating his life.
Basketball destiny?
"Reject her," the machine whispered in his blood. "Reject the bond. Save yourself." Vance screamed, his back arched off the chair. The pain was blinding. It felt like his soul was being dissected.
How old are you, Dad?
"Reject her,"
We're all
the
asking.
adjudicator's voice boomed. Vance gasped, sweat pouring down his face.
Oh.
He could feel the artificial hatred taking root, a black oil seeping into his memories. He saw the moment in the jungle, but the machine twisted it, making her touch feel like a burn,
Why can't I get
making her
here?
voice sound like a screech. He was losing. The biology was too strong. The nanites were obeying the command codes. "She is the enemy," the machine insisted. "She is the jailer."
Down one.
Vance squeezed his eyes shut. He stopped fighting the pain. Instead, he went deeper, beneath the nanites,
How about that?
beneath the programming. He went to the moments the machine couldn't see. He thought of the gala, the way she had pulled him behind the pillar,
Oh,
not
okay.
to save
They don't know
herself,
I'm right
but to
here, so I'm
save
gonna
him.
fucking Come up and fucking.
They gave me an alien mate as punishment. I realized too late she chose me. He thought of the cargo bay, her shaking in his jacket, her vulnerability. "If I take you now, you'll never know if it was the bond." She had stopped. She had stopped because she respected him.
Nice,
The machine
nice.
couldn't simulate that. A slaver doesn't ask for consent. A monster doesn't cry over a burning
Where's
palace.
the other one at?
"You are lying,"
right here, right here.
Vance roared at the empty room. He focused on that truth, the truth of her choice. I chose you because you still looked like
I'm,
a person.
running low on ammo, but if you guys keep
Vance
shooting at him,
weaponized that
he's,
memory.
like, low.
He grabbed onto the love he felt, not the chemical bond,
I'm
but the
impressed.
gritty, hard-won respect of
Okay,
two
I'm
soldiers in a foxhole. And he shoved it back down the connection.
I'm like low on
He
shit,
didn't
though.
reject the bond. He overloaded it.
I'm right behind you. Go back a
No,
little
he
bit.
shouted. I choose her. The monitors in the room spiked red. The technician stepped back in alarm. Subject is resisting. The neural feedback is reversing. Vance poured everything he had into the link.
Sounds like
His
the mic
defiance,
shoot are-
his anger, his
I see they
absolute,
still have that issue
unshakable
sometimes with the
certainty
mic,
that she was his
but
partner.
thankfully I don't have
The
it right
chair
now.
sparked. The nodes on his temples
There's stuff here
smoked.
if you guys need it.
Warning. System
fucking
overload.
ammo is what I
The glass
fucking-
wall shattered. Vance ripped his arm free, snapping the restraint. He tore the nodes off his head. He stood up, swaying, bleeding from his nose, but his mind was clear. The black oil was gone. The golden hum was back, furious and bright. He looked at the technician. Class dismissed. Vance growled. He punched the technician, grabbed a dropped blaster,
say not?
and blew the lock off the door. Vance ran. He didn't need a map. The bond was a lighthouse, guiding him through the labyrinth of the ship. He could feel Sarai. She was close. She was in pain. She was fading. He burst into the broadcast core.
I lost my shotgun.
The scene was a tableau of desperation. Sarai was slumped against the central console. She was surrounded by troopers, but she was holding them back with a barrier of pure kinetic force. Her hand pressed against the interface. Blood was pooling around her feet. The adjudicator stood safely outside the barrier. She cannot hold it forever, the adjudicator noted. Wait for her to pass out, then kill her. Vance didn't hesitate. He raised his stolen blaster and opened fire on the troopers from behind. Vance, Sarai cried out, her voice weak. Vance sprinted across the room, dodging return fire. He slid under the kinetic barrier just as Sarai's strength faltered. The barrier collapsed. Vance grabbed her, pulling her behind the heavy metal of the console. Plasma bolts hammered the other side. You came back, Sarai whispered, looking at him with wide, disbelief-filled eyes. The dissonance. Did it not break you?
Are you
They
sure?
tried to make me hate you. Vance panted, checking the charge on his weapon. And I
Who's
told
this?
them they were wrong,
The crowd?
Vance said.
Hell yeah, brother.
I told them I decide who I love.
All
He
right.
looked at the console. The progress bar was at 99%. The broadcast is ready, Sarai said, clutching her side. But I cannot trigger the second
Roll over
key.
here. Roll over here.
I am too weak.
Whatever. It's okay.
Vance stood up.
Yeah, you can roll.
He grabbed her hand. He pulled her up with him, and we do it together, he said. They stood before the massive golden interface. The adjudicator screamed at her troops. Stop them! Fire!
All right.
Vance slammed his hand onto the right panel. Sarai slammed hers onto the left. The room went white. The temple ship roared. A pulse of energy, not destructive, but communicative, exploded outward, passing through the hull, passing through the coalition fleet, passing through the vacuum. Time seemed to stop. The sounds of battle faded into a dull murmur. A voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere. It was the voice of the Ethelgard ancestors, woven into the ship's core. Verification required. The voice echoed in the mind of every being in the sector.
Oh, bitch.
It echoed on the bridges of the dreadnoughts. It echoed in the cockpits of the rebel
No,
fighters.
she's dead.
It echoed on the news feeds of 1,000,000 worlds. Primary key. Sarai of Ethelgard. Do you choose this bond? Sarai looked at Vance. She didn't look at the camera. She looked at him. Yes, she said clearly. With my life, with my blood, I choose him. Secondary key. Kaelin Vance of Earth. Do you choose this bond? The galaxy held its breath. The adjudicator froze. The troopers lowered their weapons, confused by the sudden, overwhelming pressure of the ancient voice. Vance looked into the lens of the broadcast unit. He spoke to the stars, but he was answering the question for himself. Yes, Vance said. His voice was rough, tired, and absolutely steady. "Not as punishment," he said. "Not as a program. Not because I was ordered to. Not because of a treaty." He looked at Sarai, taking her bloody hand in his. "I choose her as my decision. I choose her as my equal. Consensus achieved.
Really quick.
Truth broadcast initiated." The floodgates opened. The ship didn't just send a message, it purged the secrets of the coalition. Terabytes of data streamed out on every frequency. The audio of the tribunal, the files from the lexicon, the video of Krell laughing about weaponized genetics,
Vehicle there, I don't know if that's
the
still
technical
them or what.
schematics of the slave bond protocols. It hit the coalition fleet like a physical wave.
Don't
On
fall
the
back
bridge
up.
of the flagship, the adjudicator watched in horror as her screens filled with her own crimes.
Down.
Mutiny was instantaneous. Captains who had been forced
Yeah,
into
where's your-
service turned on their
where's your
political
buddy at?
officers. Bonded pairs across the fleet, pilots, gunners, navigators, suddenly felt the truth of the broadcast resonate in their own blood. They realized they had been used. The firing stopped. The coalition dreadnoughts began to drift,
Oh, he's
their
dead.
formations breaking. "It's over," Sarai whispered. She slumped against
whole
Vance.
team.
Vance caught her. He looked around.
We can.
The troopers in the room had
Looks like
lowered
they're
their
scared.
weapons.
If you guys want, we're all
They were
here.
looking at
Push.
their data pads, at the evidence streaming across their visors.
Let's go.
They looked at the adjudicator with dawnings of rage. The adjudicator backed away. This is chaos," she stammered. "No,"
They're
Vance said,
scared.
holding
Oh,
Sarai
yeah, they're
close.
scared, dude. They're
"This is
right
freedom."
for us.
The aftermath was not a parade. It was a quiet collapse. The coalition regime didn't end with a bang,
Shit, I have
but
no
with a
fucking
sudden
ammo. Holy
hollow
shit, hold on.
silence as its
Hold on,
authority
hold on. I have one
evaporated.
gun. Hold on, back up, back up, back up.
The adjudicator was arrested by her own personal guard. The fleet battles turned into rescue missions. In the heart of the temple ship, the white light faded to a soft, golden dusk. Vance sat on the floor of the broadcast core, Sarai in his lap. He was applying a fresh pressure bandage to her side. "You are shaking,"
Oh,
he
shit.
murmured.
Oh, my guns are out of ammo.
"Adrenaline crash," Sarai said weakly,
That's crazy.
and relief. She looked
Wait,
up
I
at
gotta
him.
use this
Her
shotgun.
face was
I gotta
pale,
use this
but her
shotgun.
eyes were clear. The star maps were calm, rotating in a slow, peaceful orbit. "We did it," she said. Vance brushed the hair from her forehead.
Brutes.
"We did."
I'm getting.
They didn't kiss.
I'm getting. Yeah.
They
okay.
just held each other.
Literally, I only have one.
It was the
fucking gun.
embrace of two people who had walked through fire and come out the other side with their skin scorched but their souls intact. They laughed, a shaky, tear-filled sound, tasting the victory and the grief in the same breath.
Bitch.
They were alive. They were free.
Hold on, hold on.
And for the first time, the silence around them wasn't threatening. 2 days later, the rusty nail sat in the hangar of the temple ship. Engines prepped. Vance walked up the ramp, carrying the last crate of supplies. Sarai was waiting in the cockpit.
Dude,
She wore a new flight suit,
are you
simple,
serious right now?
functional, without the royal crests. "The galaxy is asking for you," Vance said,
Why can't
dropping
I
into the
go?
pilot's seat. "The free systems want you to lead
Bro,
the
who's
new
the one down
council.
right now? Shut the fuck up.
The rebels want you as a figurehead. Even Earth is sending diplomats."
Oh.
Sarai looked out the viewport at the
Yeah,
stars.
we're gonna die.
"I know," she said. "They want a queen. And what do you want?" Vance asked. Sarai turned to
I'm gonna
him.
die.
She reached out and took his hand.
Oh, I'm in circle.
The
I'm in
bond
circle.
hummed, a warm, steady rhythm of choice. "I want to see what is past the outer rim," she said. "I want to go somewhere where nobody knows my name. I want to live a life that isn't a symbol." She squeezed his hand. "And I want to do it with you." Vance smiled.
Okay, now-
It was the first time in his life he felt
No,
truly
it's a game,
unburdened.
It's a game. It's a game. It's not letting.
"Freedom
Yeah, it's not
requires
letting-
vigilance," he said. Quoting the archivist, "Everyone will be looking for
Okay,
us.
that's crazy. It was a fucking game, bro.
Let them look," Sarai said. She engaged the thrusters. The ship lifted off, drifting out of the temple's hangar bay and into the open void.
Oh my
Behind
God.
them, The broadcast continued to loop, a final message encoded into the signal, pulsing out to every corner of the universe.
Take this.
It wasn't a law. It wasn't a treaty. It was a simple reminder, spoken in two voices that harmonized perfectly. Love is only sacred when it is chosen. Vance punched the hyperdrive. The stars stretched into lines of infinite possibility. Where to? Vance asked. Sarai leaned back, closing her eyes with a smile. Anywhere we want.
We should already
The
make
ship
her simple,
vanished
to be
into the
honest.
deep
We
dark,
need fucking
leaving the galaxy
help.
to heal itself, while two people,
I don't
finally
have a
free,
book.
flew into the quiet,